Just hell.
Yeah.
It's the Evan edition. The Evan edition. The Evan edition. The Evan edition. It's the Evan edition. The Evan edition. The Evan edition. The Evan edition. It's the Evan edition.
Welcome back to the Evan edition, where we talk movies, TV, pop culture, comics, and everything in between. I am your host, Evan Bernstein, and today's guest is a storyteller whose work spans television, comics, animation, and original audio. Someone who didn't just enter this industry, but earned her way into it, starting behind the scenes on Supernatural and rising to become a staff writer on one of the most beloved genre shows of all time. From there, she's gone on to shape stories inside the DC universe, writing for characters like Tim Drake during one of the most meaningful and culturally impactful moments in that character's history, while also creating original work like Red Rhino and contributing to projects like The Bright Sessions and Passenger List. Her storytelling consistently lives at the intersection of identity, emotion, and character. And that's exactly what we love diving into here. Meghan Fitzmartin, welcome to the Evan edition.
Oh my gosh. I need you to introduce me in every room that I ever walk into. Holy
I got
cow.
you. We like to make people feel welcomed here, you know, and it's such a pleasure finally getting you on the show. For those of you that don't know, Meghan and I met at Fan Expo, my first foray into the convention world, and just had such amazing conversations. It was like so easy with you, and it was like at the end of the night too on Saturday, so everyone's like pooped and exhausted.
The end of the night on Saturday, I think I had just flown in from London. Like I was still jet lagged.
Wow.
And I had like also done Thanksgiving, and I was so
So much.
lovely conversation. I was like, these conversations are only gonna go one of two ways.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, no, I know. You travel a lot. You're like Carmen Sandiego. I'm like, where is Meghan now? Is the traveling for work?
So it's I live part-time in London, and so I go and so I live in both London and LA, and so I sort of split my time between both. And then that is also spread out between conventions. So I was just in Orlando, and then last week I was in Anaheim for WonderCon. So it's, you know, it's who knows? And then I also just like really love to travel. So at the same time, like I was in Bulgaria and Istanbul a couple months ago. So
cool.
that was the other thing. We had met at the end. I think it was my fifth city in like third country.
Wow.
Or fourth country, fifth city, fourth country, 3 continents in like a month, in the month of November.
That's wild.
I was tired. I was beat.
I can't believe you still, because like you travel so much for your life, you know, when it comes to your relationship, when it comes to work and the conventions, but then you still have a passion for just traveling in general. It doesn't, like, you're able to kind of separate the two. You're like, well, that's not traveling. Like that's part of what I do. Regardless, I still want to go to Istanbul. I still want to travel and like see the world. Does that influence your storytelling at all? Like,
1,000%.
yeah, okay,
1,000%. I think that travel is so important for empathy. I think storytelling is about empathy, and one of the best ways to cultivate empathy is by traveling and seeing how other people live, and like recognizing that like the culture and the history of the spaces that we exist in, and knowing that like my story is not the only story that exists. My narrative of being an American woman is not the only narrative, and like being inspired and encouraged by all of the narratives out there in the world, I think is not just like my job as a storyteller, but also our job as a human collective.
No, 100%. And I mean, you've had quite a story and journey of your own. I remember, you know, when we first met, you talked about originally working, with at-risk youth and even considering becoming a youth pastor. What did storytelling give you that made you, pivot from that path, or did it influence the storytelling path from that journey?
Oh, 100%. I Jesus told stories. Do you know what I mean? Like, faith has always been a space that matters a lot to me, but faith has always been a space that has introduced me and helped me understand stories and vice versa, because we are nothing if not creatures of metaphor. And that is so well represented in faith-based spaces. And I really do sort of separate the two, because I think that like religion can be a difficult thing, and like it's a difficult thing for a lot of people, and especially audiences that I love and care for so much. So I never want to like embrace, like I never want to put that on anyone. But I think that we
Right.
are creatures of faith and belief, and like we all believe in something, even if
Something.
yeah,
Yeah.
like we all have an ethos. And I think that that ethos is so incredibly powerful. And my my faith, what it gave me was it taught me how important it is to love, and that stories teach us how to love. And so for me, my path towards being a youth pastor and my path with working with at-risk kids, or any type of teenager in general, is continues to sort of really focus what I want to do and the stories that I want to tell, which is just that we are loved. People are loved, and you belong to stay, like you belong on this earth, and I'm desperate for you to stay on this earth. And that is every single story that I tell. I always come from this space of like, if one person reads this and knows that they are loved, great. Done. Done and done. Done and dusted.
I love that. Do you think that's why your stories tend to feel like very emotionally grounded and like very like empathetic in your characters?
It's certainly the goal. It's certainly, I think, what I strive towards. I think whenever I am coming up with a story, I always come from the emotions angle. Like if I even if I'm pitching on an IP, right? Like even if it's not a story that I'm coming up with myself, but I have had such an amazing chance to work with amazing different IPs that have mattered to me so much throughout the years. And
Yeah.
every sort of entrance point that I've always had is, what emotion am I missing from this thing? What is my emotional weight? I always have to know what my emotional weight is in any story that I tell, be it for IP or be it for an original story.
I really love that. Were you already writing at that time, or did that come later?
At which time?
At the time when you were like working with at-risk youth and thinking like, I want to be a youth pastor and like go
Yeah.
down that road, were you already writing?
Yeah, I absolutely was. Stories were my safe space. I I was a bad student in that, like, I love school and I
Yeah.
love learning. I do not love learning in class. It's why
Same.
I chose to like, if I was like, oh, I really want to work with kids, my other people, the normal response would be, obviously teacher. And I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely
Yeah,
cannot be
I'm not going
teacher.
back in the class.
I'm
Yeah,
not
I don't want to
I'm
go
not
back
going
there.
back. And also, I knew myself, and I would be the worst teacher, because I'd be like, you guys don't need to be here for this. Go learn this over here. And like, I was like, that's not maybe what the message of the teacher should be. Because
I don't know. I feel like you'd be good. You'd be like Mr. Feeney,
I
or
really, well, that's, that's so fine. I always strive to be Mr. Feeney. I do think that like school is important, and I think that going is very important. But I think part of it that I was like, this is not meant for me specifically to teach in this space or be in this space, is that I do believe in like different types of formats are very crucial for learning. And so for me, when I was in the school space, what I needed was to like daydream while I was listening to the teacher, and then I'd go home and read the book. And so I sort of figured out the structure that worked best for me. But while I was daydreaming, I would come up with all of these different stories, and I would be writing, and I was always writing. I never considered myself a writer, but I was like, well, of course I'm going to tell a story. Like, of course I'm going to maybe do this other thing that will frankly also not make money. So it wasn't, I was like, whenever I was choosing my different career path, I was like, well, I wasn't planning on making a lot of money as a youth pastor anyway. But I was, even in the idea that I would be in a different career path, I was like, but I'm still going to tell stories. I'm still going to write. That was never not going to be. So yeah, I've always just sort of written.
you you started as an assistant on Supernatural, is that correct? And then, which is a very specific kind of writer's room. What did you learn just by being in that environment before you were even like writing on the show? Was that like a great learning experience for you, just like being around it, being in the room where it happens?
Oh, 100%.
Some Hamilton.
The Hamilton, yeah. I mean, that's what I came up in sort of the golden age of television, and that was the goal that a lot of us were really focusing on and pushing towards, was being an assistant in a room, because you can't help it. Those are some of the smartest people, even now to this day. Those are some of the smartest people that I've ever met in my life, that I still love with my whole heart.
That's cool.
And I learned so much from them. And like being on I joined the show season 12 when my boss, who'd been writing on the show since season 4, he was promoted to showrunner, needed an assistant, and so I got the job, and it was like a big changeover in the writing staff. There's a couple of people that had been there before, but it was a big changeover in the writing staff, and it was a very small room comparatively for how many episodes we were putting out. Like it was a very sort of different, it was an old school style room. But the thing that they would always do whenever assistants would come in and they would be like, well, how can I help? How can I get started in the space? They would be like, all right, well, we need you to watch. There's a lot of episodes. Season 12, there was a lot of episodes already on the table. And so they were like, we need you to watch all the episodes. And I was like, I already have, because I was a fan of the show beforehand. So I was like, I am already aware of what you've put out. And so, but I still wanted to, in sort of the same vein of who I was as a student, like I still was like, oh, but I still want to learn, and I still want to find like the ancillary education that I can get from this. And so I decided to read every single Supernatural script that we had. And that not only was like working with the other writers so incredible, but also reading every script. At the end of the show, we had 327 scripts, and I have read every one. And that was also just a massive masterclass in genre storytelling. Like some of the greatest genre of the modern writers, greatest modern genre writers have come through Supernatural. And so being able to read their like finished scripts and be like, cool, okay, cool, this was insane.
Was there a moment where it was like you went from like, you know, like supporting and observing to thinking like, oh, I could write this, like I could write some episodes, like I'm ready to go? Like, was there a turning point in your mind, or did it just happen organically just from like being a sponge there and just being around it? Yeah.
I think you definitely always go in. You always go in, especially as an assistant, with a lot of confidence.
Okay.
Already I was like, I could write this show. I couldn't have written the show. I could write this show.
I could show run it.
Yeah, exactly. I do think that like sometimes, especially in creative careers, you have to sort of walk in with a sense of unearned confidence and then earn that confidence a bit later. But there, I definitely like knew that I wanted to do that. Supernatural was a show that I was like, one of the best shows, full stop, but one of the best shows in terms of like my own sort of sensibility, what I wanted to write. And so I was like, I knew that if I was not ready, this was the show that I wanted to be ready for. And so I worked with some of the most amazing people who were so wonderful and willing to like work with me. So like Meredith Glenn is an amazing writer, and she went on to run to show run My Lady Jane, which is an amazing Amazon show, and like she's truly one of the most like inspirational people that I look up to, and is so brilliant. And she would like bring me in and be like, okay, like what do you think of this script? She'd like have me read the drafts of her script. My boss Andrew let me read drafts of his script and give my thoughts on it. Davey Perez, Bob Barron, Steve Yockey, like all of them, like I would come in and they would give me these opportunities to like read and then like say, what do you think? And that what do you think moment is so crucial in any form of storytelling, like any format of writing, is to be able to sort of hone your brain to go, what do you think? And that I didn't have any education in it. I do highly recommend like people getting education in writing, but I didn't. I came in with no education in it. And so it felt like such a like insane crash course in storytelling that they would just sit me down and be like, all right, go. And then sometimes would not be afraid to tell me, no, your instincts are wrong on this. This is bad. this is bad that you've taken away from this.
I appreciate transparency, you know.
that room had a lot of transparency. Nobody was afraid to be like, Meghan, this is stupid. And I was like, okay.
But like, that's why they lasted so long, right? Is because
100%.
they're not scared to be like, no, we gotta think about it differently. It's not working this way.
Frankly, the thing that I learned, and Jeremy Adams too is another writer that joined, who's also a comic book writer, and I learned a lot from him. And frankly, the thing that was so incredibly educational about Supernatural was that, like, the death of ego and the importance of the collective as it comes to being a creative. It is, I serve at the service of the story. I serve at the pleasure of the story. Like, I am here to make sure that this story is great. I listen, I recognize that we are doing this interview about Meghan Fitzmartin. Isn't she great? Ha ta 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 da. But like, the truth is that I have no ego in as much as it relates to, like, I need to have an ego to have my career. I have no ego when it comes to story. The best idea is the most important idea. The show has to exist, or the comic has to exist, the audio has to exist, whatever. I am a piece of that as a collective creative, and we are all working together to make this collective creative art piece to make the world a better place.
Man, I love that. That is really cool. What was like the hardest part of making that jump to staff writer?
Oh, I mean, it's a scary.
It was easy. No,
it was not.
I'm sure it was like intimidating because and at the time when you were, it was closer to the end, right, than the beginning at that point. So this is like a big monster IP rabbit fan base. Like, people live and breathe Supernatural. They Carry On My Wayward Son is, you know, has been on repeat in their minds for over 10 years, you know, is crazy. And so, was that intimidating factor a big thing when you made that transition, or were you just so in it was like, no, this is just what I do?
The nice thing about it is that, like, there's so many questions that you sort of asked in your one question that I don't know that you realized you asked all these different questions. I'm
gonna ask you 50 questions in one question.
I love it.
Keep on your toes.
It's so, to answer the question of, like, was I overwhelmed in coming into the story at that time? I was not overwhelmed by the fandom, because I love fandom, and I to this day am still so incredibly grateful for fandom. I think that fandom is one of the most important natural resources that we have, and we should actually, like, promote it and celebrate it, which is why I wrote my comic Mary Sue. And I think that fandom itself does not scare me, and I think that is really important. A lot of people go into fandom-y spaces, or like things that have a very large rabid fandom, and be afraid of it, and like you can't. Like, the thing that I learned, the lesson I learned, and I almost wish that every single person could have been on the Supernatural writers room to, like, learn the social media and fandom lessons that I learned, which is, like, tell a good story, do not get caught up in the drama. It's gonna be fine. Like, it is. So I definitely wasn't worried about that. The scary thing about making the transition from assistant to staff writer is more that, like, that is it feels more and more impossible to do, even if, like, I was one of the lucky ones. I had friends even at that point who had been assistants for 10 years and should have been on writing staff of shows, and could have been, and were maybe more deserving than me to be on writing staff of shows. And it's that more than anything else that's sort of the difficulty of, like, why me, why now?
Like imposter syndrome.
Some of it is imposter syndrome, and some of it is just like, this is a hard industry, and I want to give myself the credit, and I want to give myself, like, I know that I worked for this, and I know that I'm good at my job. But also, it is so hard, and it's so heartbreaking. Like, it is people's passions and drives and lives that, like, bring them to this point. And it's, I don't know, it's a difficult thing to really put across and express.
Wow, that's really cool though. Just to feel those emotions and be in that space. I mean, I'm sure was it all going through your head in that moment, in that transition, or did you not really have time to like sit and think like, I am
No
one of the lucky ones? Or yeah, you're just like, no, I gotta
time.
bang out some
We had
scripts.
we had like 5 or 6 writers for like 20 episodes. Do you know what I mean? Like 20 and 22,
Wow.
depending on, like, we were like, okay, we got like, it's
We got
really
work to
only
do.
been in the retrospect that I've taken the time to be able to sort of parse through a lot of those feelings. Because when you're in it, and I think this is true for like any really given situation, is that you never have the time to perfectly process anything, even COVID. None of us have or had, even in that time, the process to like the space to process what's happening, because you don't know. And it's only as long as you make the time and space later, or your body demands that you take that time and space later to have like to process it and be especially as creatives, be curious about your own process and be curious about your own sort of life experiences. And I think that, to me, is why I go back and process a lot of things quite often, is that like I am ultimately very curious about my like about being a human and humanity, and if it, and the really only access I have to that is me. So I have to be curious about me.
That's really cool. What's something fans would be surprised to learn about how the show was actually made?
One of my favorite quotes is that was from my boss, Andrew. I don't remember what was happening. We were trying to get something across and we were trying to like pull everything together or something like that. And he was like, they call it show business, but it's actually a lot more like community theater. And I was like, that is a quote for the ages. That is all of the entertainment industry.
Seriously. No, that's a good point. We have a question in our chat. I really like this. This is from Stacy. She says, "What is your most fun ways to get creativity going?" And on top of that, was there anything like in the room that you guys did to get the creativity going? So one like personal for you, but any of the group, like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll start from like the group, and
Yeah.
then sort of talk about my own self. Like, a thing that we were always told was to like go through movies on Netflix and like look at the
All right.
log line. And that's sort of the nice thing about procedurals. So procedurals, I love television. I love television so much. And the thing that I love about television is that it is very, very much about character. You don't really have an arc. You have a little bit of an arc, you have a slight arc, but it's not about watching a character get to the end of a plot piece like a feature is. It is about how these different circumstances and situations, how these characters interact in these different circumstances and situations. And so
Okay.
the sort of creative space for that in our room sometimes, and this wasn't everybody's, but definitely one of the suggestions that like my boss would give whenever a new writer would come in, for instance, is that like go through, I don't know, look at Die Hard. What would Die Hard Supernatural look like? What would St. Elmo's Fire
Awesome.
Supernatural look like? Like it was like taking those types of concepts and seeing how you could put them in this procedural story.
Wow.
And like, how do these characters interact in this way? Because it will be different. It will not be exactly like Die Hard. But like, if I were gaming that out, right? If I said Die Hard and Supernatural, there would be a moment where Jensen would have to like be like army crawling through the vent, and he'd be so excited about it. And like, sort of the pieces and the scenes that you'd immediately need to have, but the story would be very different because the characters are different than the Die Hard characters. And so you get to like really play in the space. It's really fun.
Yeah. He'd be like, "Yippee-ki-yay, Dean."
Yeah. Yippee-ki-yay, mother, and then you wouldn't be, which I think we did do
Yeah.
a couple of
And
times,
then
but like, you
oh,
can't
you got
say
to swear on it? No?
oh, no,
Or
no, 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 we didn't swear. I think we did do like, we did a couple of yippee-ki-yays. I'm trying
okay.
but like, because I don't think that was I'm sure we did Die Hard. I have to like go back really and think about it. But yeah, so that was sort of like the general idea. If you were new to the room and you'd come in and you'd be like, you'd get that piece of advice. And it helped you sort of understand the characters a little bit better, which is always really good. For me, I recognize that I have a lot of really interesting aspects in my life. And so a lot of times what I did was sort of a similar format in that I would like, rather than scroll through a next Netflix queue, I would like scroll through different memories in my own life and be like, that's weird. That's really strange. How would the boys react in this situation and setting? How would the boys react in this situation and setting? And I do that sort of even for my own other projects. I will take a concept from like my own life or a thing that I'm sort of processing emotionally, or I've been thinking about, or I read something. And I would take that and I would be like, oh, interesting. Like, what do I do with this? How can I make this something?
That's really cool. I love that you're able to like put your head in that space and like the what if of it all. I also like Acres. Stacy has another question. She said, so I was actually wondering this is I know, yeah, she has some good questions.
Yeah.
Are the writers ever on set? Do they have, or are they separate in the writers room and there's not really like a lot of on-set writers?
So it's interesting. So Supernatural, I think, is really straddled an interesting line between like old ways of doing television and the new ways of doing television. Really sat right dead set in the middle. And so we a lot of the stuff that we did actually really harkened back to how TV was run in like the 90s or the 80s, like a lot of sort of older lessons that I think were incredibly amazing. But a lot of the newer stuff, which was like having writers on set, we didn't do as much. And so I went to set because I was like, this is invaluable experience and I personally need this. And so I paid my way to go to set because I was like, I will,
awesome.
This is required. Like this was like, once again, it's the education. It's like finding areas in which I can like continue to like further my own education because I didn't have a film background, because I didn't go to school for writing. I was like, this is actually really important for me. I will pay my way to go to set. And I did. But it was rare. We really pushed for it more near the end, but it was not as common for us to be on set. But for both of my episodes, I was like, I will.
Yeah. I imagine like you want to see it through. With those episodes that you wrote, we talked about the rabid fan base, the diehard fan base. Did you get to like, read the comments as they say and like see what people, fans thought of these episodes and how was it reading that?
Well, I want the internet to know that like we all know how to Google our names. Like I think that there's like sometimes this idea that like, well, like they're creatives and they're really separate. I know how to Google my name. I figured that out. I don't do that as much anymore, but especially at the time, I think it was really useful and encouraging. Another sort of life lesson that I learned on the show, especially when it comes to social media, is that like you will not. I love reviews and I'm really grateful for reviews and think pieces, but the thing that always I find more useful was always the live reactions. That is more realistic. So there would be some times where like people would like react really favorably. Not even sometimes it was my episode, sometimes it wasn't, but people would react really favorably and then they would be like think pieces later. And it was really interesting, sort of this like dissonance of like, I don't know how to process that, because also part of this is recognizing that like people would engage with TV differently. And so for a lot of people, it was always really interesting. I could always tell on Twitter who had just started watching the show week to week after having binged it on Netflix for like 12 seasons. And then all of a sudden you're like having to sort of separate it week to week. And it was always really interesting because I was like, yeah, it's such a completely different way of consuming media. And so a lot of times people would be like, but that doesn't make any sense. And I would be like, yeah, correct. Is that this is supposed to not make sense. And then maybe in a couple of episodes, we will address the fact that it doesn't make sense. But if you come from having just like binged the whole like 12, 13, 14 seasons beforehand, you aren't used to engaging with your media that way. Fine. I really enjoyed the live reactions to my episode. It was really fun. And like, I think also live reactions are where people have the most fun of watching. So yeah, it was great. It was a fun time. I'm very grateful for it.
How
I still have people
how
come up to me about Sam and his fucking
I was
cardigan.
gonna ask.
Right?
Yeah. They're like, "Do you have that cardigan? Did
They're like, did you not, you put him? Thank you for putting Sam in the cardigan. And I was like, that was our costume designer, but you're welcome.
It was my plan all along from when
My
I was
plan
in
all
system."
along.
It was that really cool to see, like, just, from script to on screen, seeing like what you wrote actually like actualize on the screen. Like, how was that for you?
It's always really weird. I am such a I love directors. I think directors are amazing, and I find it really important for myself personally to know what makes a good director and not a good director. I am not a director though. I do not have a director brain. I don't have any real interest in directing, and so when I turn in a script, I'm like, cool, my job is done. I am grateful for the time, and I'm here if you have any questions. But like,
Okay.
I am practicing producing more, and like I think that is a really important skill set that I want to do more of. But from a directorial background, like standpoint, that background is just something that I don't have, and I really respect other people's jobs in that way, and like the expertise that they bring to that. And so it to me it is almost like a completely different experience. Once like I turn the script in and hand it over to the next person who does their job, be it like an artist for comics or the director or the sound engineer and the director for an audio thing, like it is gonna come back so different in a way that I so enjoy because I'm like re-experiencing the story because I've turned in the best thing that I possibly can, and now I get to experience it in a brand new way. And it's so good.
That's really cool. You've written in so many different mediums at this point. You've written across TV, comics, animation, audio. Those are all completely different storytelling muscles. When you sit down to write, how do you know which version of yourself to tap into?
If it's interesting. If it's coming from a specific, so like say for instance, it's coming from an IP, or if it's coming from a publisher or a producer or whatever, I know what kind of brain I have to have, right? Like, cool, I have this commission from like Audible or whatever. Great. I know that this is an audio thing. I can put myself into that space a little bit more. I sort of know what I'm going into with most projects, and so I can kind of adjust accordingly to that. And so I don't know. I don't necessarily have a brain that I slip into, except for when I've been doing a lot of I've been creating a new practice for myself recently that is, what if I don't think about the format at the end? And like that's been really fun. And that's been a really cool exploratory space of like, I have this story that like I'm probably not going to try and monetize, and I'm not going to do anything with it. And so what if I just like, today I'm going to write like in my practice for like 30 minutes before I have to do my actual work. What if I write 30 minutes in like an audio format? What if I write 30 minutes in a like prose format? What if I write 30 minutes in like as if this were a comic? And like it's the same story, but it's playing in different formats for it. And that's been really fun.
That's really cool. Which one gives you the most emotional control, do you think?
Ooh. So I think of formats. I think that any story can be in any format. I think my job as the writer is learning what the strengths of the format are to then create an incredibly emotional reaction. So, because I think that we all have incredibly strong emotional reactions to different stories, and it doesn't matter what the format is, which to me means that therefore every format has a way in emotionally. And so that's what I love exploring is like, okay, so in audio, the emotion is usually through voice, and it's through dialogue, and it is through really careful, like chewy, sort of processed stuff, or heightened. Like I use a lot of nicknames, especially when it comes to audio, because like man, to go from like nickname to full name in 1 second, like in one line, and it just has such a huge emotional impact is like, oh, so good.
That's so cool.
and like sort of looking at every single one and going, and like, so for a comic, it's a splash page. I need to make sure that my splash page hits. It hits so hard and so good. And so it's knowing what each format brings to the table, their strengths and weaknesses, and using those strengths and weaknesses to bring out those emotional pieces.
When you're building a character emotionally, what comes first for you? Their voice, their backstory, the conflict they're about to face?
I think that I come at it, and this is a more recent endeavor, sort of what I've been pushing myself for with this sort of new practice that I've been implementing, is like, what is their space of want? Like, what are they longing for? Because that, I think, and ultimately that gets to the emotionality. I think that I am so much emotions first. I don't have a voice. I actually get near the end of a project. Like, once I really dive into who these people are, like their backstories and their history and their context and like what they want and why they want it, then I actually know a little bit more about their voice, and then I can write their voice a little bit better. But I really struggle with voice at the beginning of a project, because especially if it is a personal project or my own project, because I'm like, well, I don't know who you are yet. You're just a piece of me.
Have you ever had a character surprise you and change the direction of a story?
Every time. I don't know that I've worked on a story that I was like, I know what you're doing the whole time. My favorite, I always try and get to a space. So part of my process also is just, I have one song for every story that I'm writing. So like, and I will listen to that song on repeat, and I will put headphones in because it drives everyone else around me nuts. But I will listen to that one song because there's an emotion in that one song that like is what I am pulling out and what I am desperate to have for this feeling, for these characters. And so usually it is about the 20th or 30th time that I've listened to that song, and I'm like trying to like get in the space with that character, and then they just do something or say something, and I'll be like, yeah. I like that is when they become like fully functioning. They're like, oh, we're so grateful for you to be our voice for the moment, but we'll take it from here now. And I'll be like, all right, I'm just gonna type it all
down. I want to shift gears a little bit. I really want to get into the DC Tim Drake and representation of it all, because we've had some really great conversations that have stuck with me for many, many months after. And I really, really value your point of view. I think it's really incredible. Before we get into it, though, I did want to ask one of the questions of one of our chats. So they were just saying, if there was a reunion for Supernatural, what would you love to see if you got to work on it again?
That's such a good question. And I saw the question when it came in, and I've sort of low-key been dreading to answer it because I don't know.
You're like, is he gonna get to it? Or
I was like, yeah, what if we just like, but like I think it's a beautiful question. And I think the truth of the show is that it is the boys, it is the family, it is Misha, and like the heart of that show. And you would want it to continue that heart. You'd want it to continue to have that earnestness. It took itself so seriously for being a very silly show. Like this, and the show knew it was silly. The show knew that like that was one of, I think, its greatest strengths, was that it was like, we know that some of these things are going to be very silly. Right. Sam is going to lose his shoe, and that is going to be so funny. And like there was a level of it to which it recognized the silliness, but in a way that like I think actually a lot of Marvel stuff, the Marvel Cinematic Universe kind of pivoted. Marvel sort of like acted as if everything was sort of a joke. All of a sudden we were just sort of like, like this isn't real, and like the stakes aren't really real, and like whatever. And I say this as a Marvel girly, like I love Marvel, but the joy of Supernatural is that it was so earnest. And like that is why I think it was a show that everyone watched. I think in 2016 we saw some article that was like the show that both Republicans and Democrats watch is Supernatural. And like it is in part because at the heart of the show, it was a show about family and the like struggles and pain and the earnestness, while also still doing really cool things like with metaphor, which I think is really story focused and story purpose. And I think that like right now it would be really hard to do it because media does not know how to tell metaphors right now. And that is upsetting because that's the whole point of genre. Genre is a massive metaphor. And so what I would want is, I think, a hearkening back to that earnestness and the heart of Supernatural, which is that it, at the end of the day, is this earnest story about people who like these guys who like have no business trying to save the world and doing it anyway. It is a message that I think we perpetually need. And so for a reunion, that's what I would want, is just like a hearkening back to the heart behind it and recognizing that like that is good. And that is what we are working towards, is working towards trying to do our best in a world that is out to kill us.
You answer that great. That sounds like a great reunion.
Thanks.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to make this transition because I've been really looking forward to this, and that thumbnail is very tiny, but you wrote Tim Drake during a really pivotal moment where the character was established as bisexual. What did that responsibility feel like for you stepping into that story?
The responsibility was important. It felt important. It felt like I came into it. My editor called me, and I had done a Tim Drake story already for their Future State event. And they were like, would you like to write more? And what would that be like? And I, as I do with all of my stories, I sit down and I think of like, what is the emotional story that needs to be told? And honestly, a thing that I didn't really talk about, but sometimes, what do I feel like this character has to say? Especially for characters that have been around for a long time. And I sort of did the same thing with Supernatural as well, of like, I believe that these characters being around for so long does not mean that they don't have things to say. They absolutely do, because human experience is so massive and wide. So there's so much that these characters still have to say. And so I was sitting with it and I was like, but what do I think that Tim wants to say? And I reread a bunch of books, and I sort of went back and looked at the heart and the history of things. And truly the story that I kept coming across was this idea that like, he was hiding something, and he wasn't allowed to let that shine. He was hiding something, and it was a piece of his identity that was just not allowed to be out. And so I was like, cool, I guess it has to be this. And I couldn't really think beyond that. Like I sort of couldn't like go beyond that level of responsibility, because it was just that it had to be that like this was the story first. It had to be that this was the heart of the story, and you go from there. You cannot think about anything else other than that.
Wow. Yeah, I really love that. I think for him to just explicitly say like, like in that's like, yes, like Tim Drake dates boys. I think that is very
boys and girls. I think that is incredibly important.
Right.
Tim Drake dates
but
boys and girls.
But it was like under the assumption like, oh, he is heterosexual, like he dates girls, and to just explicitly be like, and he also dates boys.
Yeah.
Period. And it's like, I love that. Was that something that was already in motion when you came onto the project, or did you have creative input in shaping how that part of Tim's identity was explored?
I was lucky in the sense that I had not been the first person that had brought that up.
Okay.
Nor had I really been the second. Um, so I was lucky in the sense that it wasn't there was precedent to it. There was conversations that were already happening that I wasn't part of, that like there was the sense of like, yeah, guys, I mean, obviously, right? Like there was this sense of like, yeah, we haven't told the story, but like I do think like there's something there. There does feel like there's something there, like from the stories. And I literally, like, whenever I brought it to my editor, I had pulled clips, or like not clips, but I had pulled like panels, and I had pulled like different stuff from different books to be like, I what is the heterosexual explanation for this? I'm happy for there to be one if there is one, but I'm just because I certainly could not tell you what that would be. And so I came into this with already like those conversations sort of like there'd been no plan, but the conversations had been had. So that was helpful and useful.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, when you're writing a character, navigating identity, especially one that's been around for decades, how do you balance honoring what came before while still allowing the character to grow in a meaningful way?
I do my best to treat characters like people. Like, I know that sounds so weird and basic, but like if I were friends with Tim, and that's how we all feel about all of these characters, right? Like part of the reason why
100%.
fandom is so strong and why the emotional reaction sometimes is so big is because these people feel like people. If we're doing our jobs right, these people
Right.
feel like people. And so so much of Tim specifically, it felt like me. There was another sort of writer's practice that I really like doing, and I don't do it as much anymore, but like something that I think I did a little of for Tim was to sort of sit down and have an interview. I don't remember where I got this from. There was some sort of like blog or something like that when I was 16, and like just sort of printing off everything and wasting my parents' ink. Was somebody talking about like the most important thing was like to sit down and interview your characters and to like ask them probing
Wow.
questions and see how they interact. And so I remember doing that for Tim a little bit and was like, what's your deal, man? Like, why not this? And why haven't you done this? And like trying to act as if that like this character has existed and has a continuous history. And operating from that function, that this is a human that I want to like this is my friend that I want the rest of the world to know.
That's really cool. Do you feel any pressure from fan expectations in moments like that?
I try not to. I'm on Supernatural, we always had a saying that like we don't write for Twitter. That doesn't mean that like there aren't things worthwhile to be read. Like there are certain I think the difference between there's a difference between I don't write for Twitter and like full stop and I don't look at Twitter at all versus I am aware of criticism because criticism makes me a better writer, and being able to sort of be aware of like what is the like top line conversation that's coming out of this. That I think is really necessary, and I think it is really important to be aware of the criticisms and to constantly be like, oh, okay, like is that what I'm trying to do? Is that who I'm trying to be? Like as an empathetic person, is this coming across? It will never dictate story, because story I think is the most crucial and important. But I have some biases. I have systemic things that move and shape the way in which I go through life, and so I'm always trying to be aware of those things. But I ultimately, at the end of the day, do not write for Twitter. I do not write for the whims of however people think that they want at any given time, because I just don't think that that makes for good storytelling. And so it does and it doesn't. I think knowing how people feel about a thing is always really useful, but sometimes people are just not going to like something, and I disagree with why they don't like it.
Do you think about the audience members who might be seeing themselves in that story for the first time while you're writing it?
100%. That is in fact why I wanted sort of Tim's realization to be a gradual unveiling rather than just like, this is my identity forever and now and it's this, and him rather than that, because like that doesn't seem to be the only experience. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of levels to which it's sometimes like, that's interesting. I wonder what that means. That's interesting. I wonder what that means. And I think that so much of representation to me is recognizing that like I cannot engulf everyone's experience. That is not my job as a writer, but I can
Right.
focus on a part of that experience and try and support and encourage other stories that aren't those experiences but are similar too. I think it is recognizing the responsibility while also allowing people to be people and not having that like the weight of the world rest solely on this one story.
Does that change how careful or intentional you are with certain scenes?
I try and be intentional and careful. I know this isn't your question, but I do think that like I try and be intentional and careful with every scene that I write in that sort of context. Like
Right.
it the truth is, and this is true for anything, every format never feels like it's enough. Like I never feel like I have enough pages to tell to tell the whole story in television. I never feel like I have enough pages to tell the whole story in comics. And so for like the 22 pages of a comic, or I only really got 30 pages for Tim's coming out story, Supernatural, we wrote around 41 pages. And so
Okay.
that's not a lot of space. And so for every
Mm.
page, there was at least another page that didn't get put into the script because there just wasn't time or space. And so you have to, as a writer, it is about what I am putting in, but it is also about what I am leaving out and why am I leaving that out. And so I have to be very careful. I think that like that makes me very careful and very intentional for every scene that I write, because it's very much like if this gets made and if this gets put out into the world, then this other thing doesn't. And pros and cons of that.
Right. What's something about writing for DC that people completely misunderstand? Like whether it's the creative freedom, the collaboration, or the process itself?
There's so many people that make these books. I think
Mhm.
it isn't, and we talk about the writers, we talk about the artists, we talk about the colors, we even talk about the letters, but it's the editors, it's the art designers, it's the marketing guys, it's the like I love the folks at DC so much, and I have so much respect for them, and I like them as people because they're all creatives who are just trying to do something really cool. They're just
Mhm.
like, and working in a business and art and commerce is always a really sort of squicky place, but like it there is so much more to the under the surface that goes into making these comics. And I think that like sometimes writers or artists get a lot of credit, and listen, I'm happy to have credit. I love credit, but I'm not the only one that makes these things, and I'm not the only one that like works on these projects and cares about these projects. Like the level of care and consideration uh that of everyone that I've ever worked with. I am not just at DC, but like Supernatural or the DC animation stuff, like audio stuff. Like the joy is working with people who care, and it is I get to be the one sometimes to like go on podcasts and talk about it, but I do a disservice if I don't mention these other people as well who care so much and like wouldn't be able to put these books out or these audios out or these TV shows out without that care and consideration.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. I think it's so multifaceted, like
Mm,
so much goes into it, and it's like to change your kind of, to navigate it and have to, and I think the way that you do it, it's like you're so open that it helps navigate it a little bit better, and you're so open to other people's point of views and their story and collaboration. I think that lends very well to when you're working in a team being able to create something together. So I think that's really awesome.
thanks. I think it is important to have vision. Like I know what I want the story to say. I know where I want the story to go. But at the end of the day, we are all trying to tell the story together. So I can be the decision maker if I need to be, because sometimes that is the most useful thing in the room, is to have somebody who's just like, we're gonna do this. This is what's happening. But it is ultimately at the end of the day, the story is better when there are multiple people speaking to it.
Definitely, definitely. You've also created original work like Red Rhino and contributed to projects like the Bright Sessions and Passenger List. How does your mindset shift when you're building something from scratch versus stepping into an established universe like DC or Supernatural?
I am so much more comfortable in IP. I love having the sandbox already built for me, and I get to go in and I get to play with the toys, and I know where the limitations of the toys exist, and like, oh, it's so fun. It's so fun and it's delicious. And then someone else gets to be the decision maker. Uh and I like because I my so the Bright Sessions and College Shapes was very fun because it's one of my best friends, Lauren Shippen, who I think is brilliant, and she was very much the like decision maker on Bright Sessions, and so I like had all of the comfort in the world to be able to be like, what about this and what about this, and throwing out all of these like crazy insane ideas that I knew because I knew I had the confidence that like if there was something really crazy, she would be like, no. But I was able to get some crazy things in. And I was like, that's really fun. And I love doing that. And so because I'm so much more comfortable and I love the sandbox that is created for me, the IP, is why I've been pushing more into doing original stuff, because I find that like when I'm really comfortable in a space is when I need to like push myself to be a better creative and a smarter creative. There's clearly something that I am feeling uh a little too easy with, and so I always try and push myself when I start to notice that I'm in comfort zones. And so yeah, so original spaces is something that is very like thrilling and exhilarating and scary because there I am building the sandbox. I have to come up with all of the like rules and the like the things and the lines of stuff, and it's scary.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, because I was like, when it's your own world, do you feel more freedom or more pressure, or it seems like both?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I have all of the freedom in the world. I joke. My least favorite part of the creative process for anything, my least favorite part is casting. I hate casting. Casting is so
Really?
terrifying to me. It's the part at the end where I'm like, it could be anything. So like I'll watch a self-tape, or I'll listen to an audition if it's an audio thing or a voice acting thing or whatever, or for animation or whatever. And I will be like, I can see that version of that character. I can see that version of that character. I
Oh
can see that
man.
version of that character. And so like casting to me is the like ultimate test of vision driving. Um because the options are endless. And so yeah, I love the freedom, and I love what original projects give you is the sense of like something completely out of nowhere and of like not seen before. And I think we definitely, especially right now, we need that more than ever.
Mhm.
But yeah, the pressure is I would say more than working for characters that like people love, because if people love them, they have I know what the rules are. I know what to break and what not to break, or like if I'm gonna break something, I know what I'm breaking. Um, with my own stuff, I don't. I am learning the rules as I go, and that's it's fun and terrifying.
What kind of stories do you find yourself gravitating toward when there are no boundaries?
I often sometimes I write about men, but I almost always write women, write female characters who are incredibly earnest and put into difficult situations that require them to be uh outside of their comfort zone. I love like I grew up very sheltered. I grew up very um scared, for lack of a better word, and I I feel like I'm just constantly telling that story of myself trying to get myself out of that sheltered space and into the real world, and like the good and the bad of it. Like I love stories that are dealing with like um thinking that you believe one thing and it turns out you believe something else, or the person that you thought was this like nice person turns out to be a horrible person, and how do you deal with that? Like I love stories of the world completely changing around you, and how do you move through that
Do you do a lot too based on your own experiences?
I do. I mean, Mary Sue is a really good example of like, I grew up a fandom girly. Like I was a fanfic girl and I will be a fanfic girl to my dying day. I got in on the like fanfic.net and I even the GeoCities sites and the Angel Fire sites. Fandom is a huge is such a crucial piece of my existence and my identity. And so I pull from there. I pull a lot from my own religious background. I pull a lot from or religious upbringing rather. I pull a lot from I've been trying to do essentially like a pitch month, because I think that makes that practice writing a pitch or like coming up with a pitch is very different than writing a story. And so like trying to practice both of those skill sets at the same time, I think is really useful. But yeah, I mean, Mary Sue is just very much pulling from my own my own background and experience.
Where did the original idea come from for Mary Sue? And for those uninitiated, why don't you let the readers or viewers know, the premise of Mary Sue?
Great. So Mary Sue is about a teenager who writes fan fiction for her favorite TV show, and the Mary Sue that she writes about comes to life when her ex-best friend reads her fanfic to the school. It's very much a love letter to fandom. It's a love letter to the communities that like shape us. The thing that I love about fandom are the people that you meet and how that changes you and how your identity can I saw so much of this with supernatural fandom. Like the thing that I would hear a lot from people is that like they would understand their sexuality from watching Supernatural, or their gender, or their understanding of self, like all of this stuff, these stories that make us who we are. And the fandom then is a community that helps us process it. And so I wrote Mary Sue about Cassie, who is, around 16 and struggling as I certainly was at 16. I don't know about anybody else. And it came from a conversation with my editor at the time, who then moved to a different publishing house, and I was so sad. My editor Elizabeth is also wonderful. But I was working with a editor, Daphna, who is brilliant and I think is just so smart, and is also very much in fandom. I think we were talking about one of the fandoms that we were very much into at the time. And I was like, oh, it would be really cool. Like, what about this idea? And I was like, the Mary Sue comes to life. And it grew from that, really.
And Mary Sue is Penguin Random House.
It is Boom and Penguin Random House. Yeah.
It's Boom and okay.
Yeah, Boom is owned by Penguin Random House, but yeah.
Do you still get, I mean, you're on the circuits of the convention stuff all the time. And so is there interactions that you have where you're like, oh, I could put this in Mary Sue for sure?
I don't know about that. I certainly, my favorite interaction with the con circuit, whenever I talk about Mary Sue, is like my favorite, especially when I was first sort of before the book came out. I went to Chicago, Fan Expo Chicago, and it was really great because I was sort of practicing my sales pitch on Mary Sue to people, and I had like free stickers, and so I'd be like, talk to your local comic book store, whatever. And it was great to watch people's eyes light up at fanfic. Like in both the like terror and excitement, the like, I can't believe you said the word fan fiction out loud, and it's like, I know, it is. For the longest time, like I remember the first time in a professional, like I am meeting another assistant for Network Drinks and we are going to like learn about each other as people in a professional context. And I remember the first time that I said the word fanfic out loud and we both were like, is this okay? Like it was such a like and that person is still one of my best friends and I will be seeing later tonight. Very
cool.
It's such a unifier in a really, really cool way. And that's what I was trying to get across, I think, with the series Mary Sue, is this like, it's such community centric. Fandom is so community based, and to be able to like support and be enthusiastic about communities at a time where we're really losing a lot of community is so necessary. So necessary.
Yeah. So you were threatened one time by I'm in your
I was, yeah.
floorboards with a box
The box
cutter.
cutter. Yep. Yeah, it was a tweet.
Wow.
It was a tweet that
The
came
internet.
across after I but like yeah, listen, it was not my first death threat. If it was just the most interesting death threat that I've ever
Jesus.
gotten.
Oh
It
my goodness.
truly was the funniest death threat because I very much was like, I have some questions. Are
Yeah.
you okay? Are you breathing
Yeah.
under there? I don't think I have floorboards. Where are you? Sometimes I live on a boat, very a la Tim Drake. Are you in the water? How is this working out? Secondly, what are you gonna do with the box cutter? Because they're not like they're bad, don't get me wrong, but I think
Right.
at best you'll cut off something. That's not a lot. Like it's not a lot.
Right.
Yeah, it's truly like
I can't believe that when I was looking at it, I was like, okay, wow, getting the whole fandom, all the sides of what fandom really is. That I mean, when you open yourself up, especially putting yourself out there, and with the internet these days, I mean, I've even seen it with my show, you know, putting yourself out there and being, you know, open to people commenting on your looks. And I
oh,
think what was it?
100%.
It was like, oh, this guy looks like Ed Sheeran mixed with Bill Burr or like something like that. I was like,
That's great though. That's nice.
I was like, not bad, not
Yeah,
bad. You know, like some of these digs, I'm like, okay, that's funny, awesome. People
those
feel
are
the
always
way.
my favorite when they're like, I got you. And I'm like, I don't think that you did.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I
But I
wish
love
I had
it.
their money.
Yeah. I don't know. I love it. I don't know. It's not that I love it, I guess. I have a lot of empathy for it because it's usually not about me and it's like not about
Right.
you. It's usually like once again, the thing that I love about fandom, which is that a lot of times people don't have therapy, they have this. And
Right.
it is so we live in a time where like mental health is so hard and there are not a lot of things for it. There are just these fictional characters that I have had the privilege to write, and I can't I understand the ire. Sometimes it's horrible and sometimes it's really malicious and sometimes I'm like ugh. The malicious ones are the ones where I'm like go with God. You and I will
Yeah,
never have this
exactly.
connection.
Yeah,
Like
it's like, all right,
it's okay.
bye-bye.
Like you can go over here
Yeah.
and like exist in that space and like I don't need to be like you do not affect me because your life is not going to affect mine and I'm so sorry that mine has affected yours. But consider that. Look at that.
Yeah, they won't, but they should.
They won't. They won't.
They
But, like,
definitely
once again,
should.
it does not have any bearing on me and who I am and what I'm doing.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
And so it's the ones in between that like the space that I recognize of I am struggling with something and I am processing this and I have so much empathy and time for that because this is such a huge emotional space for people and sometimes this is all that they have. And so I always want to be respectful and edifying and encouraging of that process because the truth of the matter is most of the time those folks don't ever come up to me. They're not going to come by my booth at the convention or they won't stop. Like I'm not thus far. I am not in danger. And so
Right.
I recognize the power that I have in this situation where I am in control of their blorbos. I am in control of the like special thing that like helps them get through a really tough time. That is that is where I feel the responsibility, not anything else. I feel the responsibility when there is this sense of like there's a lack of care and consideration everywhere else in their lives and all they have is this. I want to always I will never necessarily write to that. Like I'm not going to write the character how they want it necessarily specifically to be. But I, as a creative, can always take the responsibility of like being as kind and considerate as possible and to recognize that there's other things going on. And this isn't about me. And this is about like the systemic failures for so many people that have been failing, that have failed all of these different people. And I'm not going to be mad at folks for being failed by a system as long as I can help, as long as I can help that empathy and love.
No, definitely. I mean, something that I constantly preach on this show is that this stuff that we love is subjective. We're not all going to love the same things or come at it from different ways. But
Yeah.
as long as we can be respectful and have a conversation about it, then that's what fandom is really about. And that
100%.
respect needs to be there so that you can have those conversations and
Yeah.
open your eyes up or open other people's eyes up to things that you didn't think of or you didn't have that mind.
Absolutely.
That's the beautiful part about this community.
Yeah. Stories are about curiosity at the end of the day. Curiosity and empathy. Those are the two biggest
Mhm.
things. And I will always foster and support those things.
Right. And curiosity too, right? Because I always go back to it's Walt Whitman, but it was on Ted Lasso, but like
Yes, yes.
be curious, not not judgmental. Like people that are judgmental, they don't ask questions.
Yeah.
People that are curious, they ask questions. They want to know more. Tell me more. And
Yeah.
that is a
100%.
key indicator into being able to step outside of yourself and
Yeah.
see another point of view. And I think it's something really special that not everyone has yet, but they could.
It's something that I was gonna say. It's something that you practice. Like it is something
Exactly.
that it is not something that like just maybe it comes naturally when we're younger and then we get into these systems that sort of break that down. But I have found in my life that I aim to practice that as a skill rather than like have that as an expectation for who I am as a person. And
100%.
that includes with myself. Like I was talking earlier about being curious about my process. I also try to be curious when like I feel jealous, when I feel embarrassed, when I feel sad, and being like trying to make sure that I do not have any judgment over those feelings and be like, oh, that's really interesting that I'm feeling really embarrassed about that right now. What is it about this that's making me feel embarrassed? And I love it because it takes all the teeth out of feeling embarrassed.
And it's okay.
It makes it okay. It makes it perfectly okay. And then and it means that I can then engage with other people with the same level of curiosity.
Is there a type of story or theme that you feel like you have to tell at this point in your career?
That is such a very thoughtful and like empowering question. And what I'm gonna tell you,
I can't wait for this.
What
Okay,
I'm gonna tell you is not that.
Okay, I'll take it.
What I really want to tell right now, and there's a way to make it this. Like I will always, and I want to continue to tell stories about belonging and identity. Those will always be stories that I end up telling. Every single thing, I will always have a consideration of making sure that the people that the stories that I tell reflect the world as it is, reflect who exists in the world as it is, and reflect that like this is a community in a belonging sense. That being said, a thing that I'm really trying to get better at is pining. I want more horny stories in the world, and we're in a space, and I joke in that it's like a lighter fare, but I think that we have not engaged on a storytelling perspective with the idea and the premise of wanting something so much that it just sort of overwhelms every sense that you have and sort of pulls something out of you, because that is the other side of it. Identity is sometimes about absence, but it's also about all encompassing, overwhelming. And so in order to tell both sides of the story of identity, I am currently in the space right now where I'm exploring that overwhelming side of it versus the lacking side of it.
Wow. Okay. No, that is very cool. Don't sell yourself short.
Well, I was like, because the ultimate thing at the end of the day is just like pining. I just want horny pining stories.
That's the gist. That is the gist of it.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna shift gears a little bit as we start to end the interview portion of this episode. I'm gonna ask you some pop culture kind of questions, get your opinion on them. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Marvel or DC, where does your heart lean and why?
My professional life is very DC. I grew up at Warner Brothers and like it's all very tied in. my childhood is very Marvel. So Mr. Fantastic is like my everything. I love him. Somebody at MegaCon actually came by. She's a fan of a podcast that I was on, and she brought me these like really amazing bracelets. And she's like, I have other ones if you want any. And I looked in and she had a Mr. Fantastic one. And I got so giddy. Like even now I think about it and I'm like so excited. Like I love Mr. Fantastic so much. So it is that 50-50 split. Like my professional life is so very DC based, and that is home to me in so many ways. And then my personal life is like, Mr. Fantastic can do no wrong, and then he does every wrong always, and I love him. I love him so much.
That's so funny because I was going to ask you favorite superhero, but I want the real answer, not the expected one.
Oh, it's Mr. Fantastic.
Why is Mr. Fantastic your favorite superhero of all time?
I love him. I am an apologist for him at any given point. So the Mark Waid run, I think, is one of the most influential books for me specifically. Like I had read comics and I had been sort of aware of superhero things, and I'd watched the movies and the TV shows and whatever when I was like 13 or 14. But it wasn't until that was the comic that I found myself, that like my dad didn't give to me, or that I wasn't like trying to whatever. I picked up the first trade of Mark Waid's run on Fantastic Four, and that was when I was like, this is my thing now too. I get to be a part of this pop culture moment. And his book is so much like I talked to him about it later in life. Like we were at the same convention once, and so I was like, I just have to tell you that like
that's so cool.
It's your fault basically. And we were talking, and I was like, and all of it comes down to Reed, because I love Reed as a character, and he was like, I do too. And that was the point of the book for him, was like he's so misunderstood in that he loves so much. Reed is, and I think Hickman understands this as well. I loved Hickman whenever he picked 100%. Up the Fantastic Four. Reed loves so big and so hard. He's very Sherlock Holmes in this way. Sherlock Holmes, I would always get very annoyed with when people were like, he's a sociopath. I was like, he really isn't. He is a high functioning empath who gets overwhelmed by that and sort of has, because otherwise, if he's a sociopath, he would not be friends with Watson. Like that's sort of not how that works. And so
and Stu would not be in love with Reed if he was a
like he's not a sociopath. He is such a high level empath that like does not have full access to his emotions because they're so big and scary. And when I was growing up, my emotions were big and scary, and I didn't know how to deal with them. And so I would read these comics about how like the world was ending, and that would be how I understood my own thing of like, it feels like the world is ending and I know it isn't, but if I could read these comics, then that would help me process my feelings and emotions about like, you know, the thing that in retrospect is not the world ending. But you don't know that, you're a teenager. And so Reed always represented this like character that had so much feeling and emotion. He loves his family. He loves his family. He is nothing without his family. And he always feels like he fails them. And that is something that like in terms of longing and want, he wants so desperately to be enough and worthy of his family. And he will, the tragedy of that character is that he will never, because he did this horrible thing to them and that he had ruined their life. And it didn't ruin their life, but like
his mind,
he is always sort of like
the guilt,
taken that away from them, taken these wonderful lives that they could have lived away from them. And he always is trying to be enough for them, and to himself he never will be. And that it's just, it's so good. It's so heartbreaking. I love him so much.
Wow. What is your favorite on-screen Reed Richards?
I liked Ian Rufford a lot. I really,
he was good.
He was so good. And I recently watched, so before he was Reed Richards, he was cast in a BBC number of movies that is very beloved in the UK called the Hornblower series, which is a silly name, but it's about like I think it's 19th century, maybe late 18th century, early 19th century Napoleonic Wars. I think that's the 18th century. And he is the lead, who's a character named Hornblower. And watching those movies made me even more appreciate him as Reed, because I could see why he was cast as Reed from watching those movies. They're great. Highly recommend them. They're a really fun time that I'm like, why didn't I know? Like, if I knew about them when I was a teenager, like they would have been a lot for me and I would have only watched them. But yeah, that's the one. That's the guy.
Okay, very nice. Did you like Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards?
I was really nervous. I was extremely nervous. I like Pedro Pascal in general as a person and like an actor, but I was really nervous because I was like, I need him to lock in for Reed.
100%.
And he gave a performance that I really wasn't expecting for him. Like,
it impressed you.
It did. I think that he cared almost too much, and I was like, I think maybe you need to pull it back a little bit. But I was so, I was super nervous about it because Reed matters so much to me, and so I was going in being like, okay. And he was really good. Vanessa Kirby, I think, stole the show for me personally. Like she was
fantastic. And it just really,
like, someone understands Sue. Great.
Yeah, it really showed why Sue is one of them ones in the comics. And in the past movies did not represent the character at all. How she is.
No, that Miles Teller interpretation, she didn't even get to go and get the powers, and then she made the costumes, which isn't even canonically accurate because Reed makes the costumes.
Right. Yeah.
I was very confused.
Yeah. Which they got in the Disney, in the new Disney one. So I thought they did a lot more right than the other movies. There's an appreciation in a lot of ways.
Josh Trank was doing what like he wanted to do, and I cannot fault a person who is like pushing through for their own vision. And I think that like that will always be a thing.
In the studio chopped that bad boy up. He did not get to really do his what he had in his mind. And because Chronicle I thought was like fantastic. So when he was hired for Fantastic Four, I was like, oh my God, we could get like a really good one. And then I'm like, oh, this is not what I thought he was going to do.
Well, I'm also not I'm gonna forget the name of this. It's not Invincibles. It's they had a like what if we break everything line of Marvel comics, and now I'm completely blanking on what they were called. Do you know what I mean? That like I do
know what you're talking about, but now I'm just thinking Invincibles.
I know, and I'm like, it's not Invincible, obviously.
I can't. But
it's gone.
I know you're talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And that was what they there were
they're young and they're younger, right?
Yeah, like, and they're younger. The Spider-Man one was really good on that one, but I like they did another one. I think they did the Wolverine ones and things like that. I did not it felt very much like it was pulling from that, and that was not my favorite version of when I was reading the books. Like that was just not my favorite version. And I think that like that perfectly matters. I think that there are people that probably love those things, and so I will never yuck someone's yum in that way of just like, oh, that is just not how I engaged with the IP in a way, which is fine. But yeah, I will never like I am grateful anytime anyone has a vision and has an idea and structure. But yeah, I was delighted to see some of the stuff that they brought back and remembered from in the new movie. Like I had a lovely time. I thought it was very fun.
I had a great time. I mean that chase scene with Silver Surfer as she's giving birth. That chase scene,
I was like, oh cool, this was the Star Wars that I wanted. Like this was this is my favorite Star Wars movie, is the Fantastic Four movie.
Who is your GOAT on-screen Spider-Man and why?
The problem, I cannot pull away from the Tobey Maguire because that was so formative. Like that I think started mine and my dad's relationship with comics, because I wasn't really allowed to see movies. I was very, very sheltered. And so, so like we had to go through like the whole rigmarole if I wanted to see a movie. And if it was like rated anything other than G. And this, I think, was PG-13. Maybe it was PG, but maybe it was PG-13. And my dad was going to go see this movie, and I really wanted to go see it. And my mom was like, I don't know. And my dad was like, it's a superhero movie and I am taking her to see it because my dad loved comics growing up. My dad is a Marvel guy and like so deeply loved comics growing up. And that to me was that moment of like, I am in this with my dad and like that sort of familial feeling where he gets to share this thing with me. And so like it was the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, and I will never be able to sort of like separate that feeling from, so like I will always be like, I'm a Tobey girl. Like
what is, in your opinion, the best superhero movie of all time?
Ooh. Okay. I want to give you like an out of left field answer, but I don't know that I'm going to have one.
That's okay. Yeah.
I think that my favorite, do I mean this? I'm now measuring all of the questions. Like all of
it's all going through the brain now.
Okay, I have a silly answer that's like, what if I do an out of left field, and then but I'm going to give you my real answer first. I think the real answer for me is Iron Man. I think that like it starts everything. You understand why it starts everything. That is such a good example of like like a fun movie doing superhero things and like nobody having a lot of faith in themselves and doing it anyway. Like it's such a it's such a bet that works.
Definitely.
And I love it. Like I will watch that movie anytime and have a good time. And I think that speaks really highly of it. If I was going to give you an out of left field answer, is the 10 Commandments.
10 Commandments. Okay. And Moses is
what is Moses if not a superhero?
Yeah. I mean, I was celebrating Passover yesterday and trying to tell Erica about, I'm like, he split like the Red Sea. Like, I'm like, have you seen
Prince of water Egypt? From rocks? Like,
have you seen Prince of Egypt? That cast is stacked.
Oh, Prince of Egypt is a lot. I'm
like Martin Short and
Steve
and Steve Martin are Steve in Martin. It. It's like
I mean and the songs are all bangers. Deliver Us, come on. Like it's
I love this though. It just made me think, what is your favorite animated movie of all time? Has it been? No,
that is high on my list. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's very high on my list. I think it might be number one for me, honestly.
I'd have to look. I'd have to do a bracket because I'm very
we can break it down. We can break it down. We can say, what is your favorite Pixar movie of all time?
Oh, Up. Easy. That one I know. Okay, my favorite Pixar movie is Up. My favorite Disney movie is a little bit harder in that it like either it is Lion King or The Great Mouse Detective.
Oh, that's good.
It's a real mix between the two.
I do love The Rescuers.
The Rescuers is also very good. No shade to The Rescuers.
Like immigrant story, like it was awesome.
I also deeply love, and this is one of those movies that like imprints on you as a kid, and then it matters so much to you, and you're desperate to make everyone watch it, and then everyone watches it, and they're like, "This is not very good," and it doesn't matter because it matters to me. But that movie for me is Care Bears 2. Care Bears 2 is so it hits so good for me, and I did make my friend who does not like anything animated watch it, and she walked away going, "Oh, I certainly watched this movie for you, Megan." And I was like, but I love Care Bears 2. Care Bears 2 for whatever reason hit really good, and my mom tried to get rid of that movie so many times. Yeah, Stacey in the comments was saying Black Cauldron, and Black Cauldron is like
Black Cauldron is sick. It was scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. I was like, whoa, this is.
That's why I liked Great Mouse Detective, is because Great Mouse Detective had 2 jump scares that did scare me, and
Secrets of NIMH.
I read the book Secrets of NIMH and was like, I have decided that I cannot watch this movie because as a very practically minded kid, I was like, I simply won't be doing that. Thank you very much. This is a scary book. And it will be a scary movie. And I was correct.
What is your what is, in your opinion, the best TV comedy of all time?
Best TV comedy. It's difficult because there are so many like good answers for this.
Yeah,
The,
it's hard.
in the Meghan realm of like Meghan media.
Yeah.
Uh,
Ooh, I love that. Meghan Media. You gotta
Meghan media.
TM that.
Yeah.
That hasn't been taken yet, I bet.
Not with my spelling. It would probably be Hogan's Heroes.
Ooh, okay.
It
Taking it
is.
back.
I know. Once again, another one possible. Get Smart. Get Smart might just inch it up. Get
Oh
Smart is
man, that's
truly,
really
I think,
good.
truly.
It wasn't the obvious ones, you know, like
No,
Friends or The
no.
Office or Parks and Rec,
I
or
wasn't really allowed. I mean,
Kevin said Golden Girls.
yeah. I wasn't really allowed to. So once again, like I come from a very sort of sheltered background, and so I didn't really have a lot of like.
Yeah.
What my mom would do is she would take VHS tapes to my grandmother's house, and on TV Land she would record the like marathon days that they would have.
Yeah.
And so like I watched was like Andy Griffith Show and I Dream of Jeannie. Get Smart. Like I Dream of Jeannie's so good. And so Gilligan's Island, I've seen every episode.
I watched Nick at Night all the time.
Oh, Nick at Night was cute.
You know,
That was, I mean, like
Happy Days.
Happy Days is good. I think that
Mary Tyler Moore Show was epic to me.
Mary Tyler Moore Show is one of the best. Dick Van Dyke Show is one of the best. I think that The Honeymooners is actually incredibly important television. Honeymooners and I Love Lucy are probably two.
Green Acres I watched a lot.
Petticoat Junction.
Green Acres is the place.
I was very much like not allowed to watch anything that was sort of being made in the 90s. And so
when you were in the 90s.
Oh yeah. I'll be in a room sometimes. I was in a room in December and we were pitching on something and I was like, it's like the A-Team or it's like Hogan's Heroes or whatever. And they were like, how old are you? And I was like, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about that. That's not the topic we're on.
That's not important right now. Respect my references.
Just listen to me. I'm on to something. What is in your opinion, the best superhero TV show of all time?
I think that Batman the Animated Series is probably the best
superhero
TV show of all time.
Why is that?
It both encompassed comedy and drama. It took itself seriously. It took its audience seriously. And does what you want things to do, which is to bring people in who maybe didn't know that this was an option for them. So Batman the Animated Series introduced a whole generation of people to comics and was like, this actually, comics are for you. In a incredibly accessible way. And yeah. I think that like while also being true to the characters and being funny and
dark
like it never but treating the audience, which would be the younger audience, like not asking them to be adults while also being like, hey, you can handle dark stuff, like this is fun. So I think that like that hits all of the right elements for me. And then second would be like the Justice League animated TV show, which was an incredibly formative that Hot Girl and Hot Girl and Green Lantern, Shayera Hall and Jon Stewart was like such a huge ship for me. And then I was so confused that it wasn't really in the comics because I was like, but I love them so much.
Yeah, I remember something that was like very impressionable on me was the 60s Batman TV series.
I loved the 60s.
I would watch it all the time as a kid, but there was a moment like in the alleyway, Batman catches Catwoman and they kiss. And in my mind, I was like, but she's a bad guy.
Yeah.
You can't kiss a bad guy. And it was like the first time I was like, oh, like these characters are more complex than what I thought.
I love that. That's
it was like my first moment of realizing that based on that moment, I could see it crystal clear in my mind.
That's so
yeah. Man, so you're not going to give Eric some love with The Boys? No, I'm just kidding.
Eric doesn't need any love. He has so much love with The Boys.
He has all the love. Yeah. I mean, do you watch
fine.
The Boys?
I watched the first couple of seasons of The Boys, and then I was like, this is really hard for me to watch.
It is not an easy watch. I
think I actually stopped. I watched a little bit of Jensen, and then I was like, I can't watch Jensen do this. I don't know that I want to watch this. Because he's so good. We always would talk about.
So good in it.
So Jensen Ackles. I mean, listen, we had an amazing cast for Supernatural. Jensen Ackles not getting an Emmy is insane to me. Like he is
absolutely insane.
He is one of the best actors of a generation. Like he truly, and not only is he a good actor, he is a very good director, and he is a very good like leader on set, which a lot of people don't really talk about in terms of like what you want your actors to do is to lead the set and be the advocate for people on set because they have so much power. He is he and Jared and Misha are some of the best people on the planet, and I'm just so grateful to like know them and support them. But it is why like whenever they're doing like whenever he was playing, I was like, I am so supportive, and I can't.
He's so funny in it. He's so good. I mean, I think that show is absolutely incredible. I think Homelander is one of the best TV villains of all time and doesn't get any love
I think
for it at all to the way Anthony Starr plays it and how it's written. I think it's just absolutely disgusting and beautiful how it's written on television screens. And
truly Eric is one of the like he's an amazing showrunner. I didn't get to work under him, but he's one of the smartest people in the stories that I have heard. And like, he is one of the smartest people. And he is one of those writers that like, I will watch anything that he ever does because
would you get to interact with him at all? Like when he would come on to set or was he just like, I'm on The Boys now. I'm busy.
He didn't ever really need to come on to set. We would definitely have conversations and things like that. Like I'm not me personally, like my boss, the bosses would always chat. And like, we would always, I loved his assistant who became his producing partner, Michaela Starr, who's brilliant and just absolutely amazing. And, I would talk to her more of just like in terms of organizing things and like getting things together, and we'd do Christmas gifts and holidays and things like that for the offices. But he was busy. He like had important shows and like trusted that Andrew and Bob Singer could run the ship. So
he did a great job. So
exactly.
He definitely left it in great hands, because I mean I don't hear anything but great things about the times post Eric and the ending of the show. I just saw on my feed the spoiler alert how Dean dies, and I just love the comments of the understanding of like that death, how simple that death was, and what that meant for his journey. And it was like really cool to see just the fans are just so in love and intuitive when it comes to these characters. It was really cool because I was never a Supernatural fan. Sure. I didn't know when to get it. It passed me by, you know what I mean? And
there's still time. You can start it now. You're gonna have a lot of late, like you're gonna have a lot of late times coming up. So like it's
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I usually try and just watch stuff with my wife, or I get like one show in, but
I truly think if you have a reason to like stay up, it's one of those shows where like I always try and like
Dean dies.
Exactly. Dean dies. I know, spoiler alert. As if we didn't, but it is one of those shows that I'm always so encouraging of people to like if they have any sort of like they're doing like overnights on things, or if they're like cleaning, it is a show that creeps up on you in a way that like is so, from a storytelling perspective, is a magic trick. Like it feels like
I was a Buffy guy for a long time, and old school WB, before CW and Smallville, for sure. Especially the first 4 or 5 seasons, I was like heavily into it. And then
when Erica Durance came on as Lois Lane, I was like, this is everything to me.
I was like, this is really good. And I mean, it's just perfectly casted. It's just, I know how much you love casting, so
No, I'm always so impressed because it is like my terror, like truly the thing that keeps me up at night. Whenever there's good casting, I'm like, oh, that you son of a bitch! Like, how did you do it so well?
I know. Yeah, that's true. Man, there's so much I still want to ask you, but I do want to get to our
Yes,
topic.
of course. Yes.
Before we get to our topics, though, I just wanted to ask you, for someone watching this who wants to break into this world, not just to work in it, but to tell meaningful stories like you do, what's the most important thing they should focus on?
I would say I'm going to cheat and say 2 things that you have to focus on.
Okay, that's good.
One,
cheating is good. Great lesson.
Cheat. You should
telling
cheat.
telling them to cheat. That's
Cheat. Once again, I didn't become a teacher for exactly this reason. I would say that like one of the things that I would focus on is like making your own stuff. I think where we're at currently, this is more like the specifics of where we are at as an industry in any type of entertainment, is like it has never been more imperative that you make your own things now. And so in terms of being an empathetic person, you also can only do that if you make things. So do it, make the thing, like absolutely really put a lot of effort into like making the thing, completing it, and putting it out in the world. But like even if you don't want to put it out in the world, it is still so necessary to make and complete things more than ever right now. So I would say that like that would be my major focus on the one end. The other end would be in community. You need people around you. You need other people to like make your stuff better. You are not as smart as you think you are. You're a lot smarter than you think you are, and you are not as smart as you think you are in terms of like we need each other to tell stories. You need a creative community that tells you like stories. Do not be afraid to talk about your pitches on something. Do not be afraid to talk about your story ideas. Even if somebody steals your story ideas, that is something that I hear a lot from like definitely early career writers, that like they're like, oh, I don't want somebody to steal this thing. They won't. Even if they do, even if they are like a dick, one, you now know not to talk to this person and like not to engage with this person. But 2, even if they do take that idea, it will never be the way that you tell that idea. It will never be the same story that you are going to tell. So like, don't worry about it. Do not sacrifice community for the sake of convenience, for the sake of this thing. Like community, I think, is the more important aspect, and will make you a better storyteller, will make you a more empathetic storyteller, is if you engage with your community. And that is also how we make each other better. Like if you look at historically speaking, writers sort of all come up at certain times. And that is in part because of the community that they're supporting each other in. And like, it teaches you how not to have that ego and how to recognize that, like, I mean, listen, some of them did have an ego. Some of them still do have egos, but like the more that you recognize that you are part of a global culture of telling stories, the more you become an empathetic storyteller, and and the more you are championing other people, the more you champion other people, you will be championed as well. But like when you push down and you act as if this other person getting this opportunity means that you won't get this opportunity, you're just making yourself smaller. I've been sort of working from a bird's eye perspective versus a worm's eye perspective, and asking myself the question of like, is this the worm's eye point of view or is this the bird's eye point of view?
I love that. Meghan, this was honestly such a thoughtful conversation, and you can really feel how much intention you bring to your work, not just as a writer, but as a storyteller who cares about people and what these stories mean to them. So thank you so much. I love talking to you about these things. We could go on. We could go on for so long, but let's change gears a little bit and give you a little taste of the Evan edition.
Yeah.
If I may. With that down, I wanted to get into this. So as we know, the DCU has begun, and woohoo! And James Gunn obviously gave us his Superman last year, which was very well received by critics and fans alike. He is building out the TV world with Peacemaker season 2 this past year and Lanterns coming out. But the next film in the DCU is our girl Supergirl. And
look at her.
Look at her. And this past week, we got another look at the Supergirl trailer. This comes to us from space.com. They say, hot on the heels of Monday's teaser with David Corenswet's Man of Steel leaving a video message for his cousin, DC Studios has just released a new full trailer for its next James Gunn overseen summer superhero flick, Supergirl. Adapted by screenwriter Ana Nogueira from Tom King and Bilquis Evely's 2022 DC comic book series, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. The plot follows Supergirl, played by Millie Alcock, and the young alien gal pal Ruth Marie Knoll, played by Eve Ridley, as they zoom across the galaxy to track down Krem of the Yellow Hills after he murders Knoll's father. We got to see a lot more of what this story will entail, and it looks like crypto is heavily involved in the story as we see Krem poison crypto, and the story revolves around Supergirl going on a John Wick mission to save her dog and meets some crazy characters, Lobo, along the way. So this looks really fun. I feel like this trailer gave us a lot more than the Guardians of the Galaxy vibe that we felt from the first one, and really dove into what we're in for when it comes to the plot and story wise. It gave us more crypto. It gave us more Lobo scenes that look fantastic, as our boy ex-Aquaman Jason Momoa plays the boisterous bounty hunter. And it looks like they're going to try and retrieve an emergency antidote to save crypto. So it's a very crypto-centric story, because crypto is the last part of Krypton that Kara has. And it looks like a really beautiful story. Megan, I know you didn't get to see the trailer, but based off what you're hearing about Supergirl, from what you've seen from photos or casting, how do you feel about the direction of DC's next on-screen movie? And do you think it was the right move to lead with Supergirl being the next follow-up to Superman?
I don't watch trailers, is sort of what I attempt to do. I like to go in without having watched the trailers. And so I don't go in with I don't go into movies having seen the trailer, because I find, unless it's before the movie that I'm watching, but even then I try not to. And part of it is because I like to be surprised. I don't want to go in with knowing half of the movie beforehand. And so I am excited. I love the idea that we're doing Supergirl, because I think that I think the casting, once again, because I'm scared of casting, but I think the casting for it is so good and so interesting. And James Gunn is another one of those creators that ever since Scooby-Doo 2, I will follow that man into whatever story he wants to tell. I know he didn't write this one, but I trust him, and so I'm really excited to see this. I love that we're doing Supergirl. I think Supergirl gets the raw end of the stick so much, and so it's just good. We're finally getting to see her be cool and messy. And the fact that I as a woman who was reading comics when I was very young, all I wanted was really messy superhero women who were who were messy like me. And so I think we're getting that. And I could not be more ecstatic. I'm so excited.
Were you able to read Tom King's Supergirl run, Woman of Tomorrow?
It's been a long time. It was very much a long time ago that I read it. And so I don't it's sort of not as fresh for me, and I kind of want to keep it that way. It's something that I'm trying to actively not pull back out of it, if that makes sense. I'm sort of excited to go into this as if this was an
Be happily
unattached thing.
surprised.
Yeah, like, I
Yeah.
want it to exist on its own because I want this to be so successful. I want it to not have to, like, I don't wanna have any sort of preconceived notions before I go in.
You know, at least for the broad strokes of Woman of Tomorrow, it is a much darker
Yeah,
story when it
yeah.
comes to compared to previous Supergirl stories. Do you think that a darker story is a good way to go with Supergirl, and also shows kind of the juxtaposition of him and the brighter Superman of it all?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also very true to her character. Like, Infinite Crisis on
Yeah.
one of the crises. If either it's Crisis on Infinite Earths or it's
Many crises have occurred.
many crises, and she has been either it's Barry or Kara that have been in the, like, the middle of it all. And
Right.
I remember, like, reading that and being so struck by how dark that story is for her. And so I think that, like, it's really built into the DNA of that character that, like, it's real dark. It's real hard and dark for her because she's, like, an adult when she, like, she's so much older and has to deal with so much more stuff uh than Clark. Like, from a
Right.
purely character centric, emotion forward thought process, it makes the most sense to me is to, like, say this is a darker version of this because Clark didn't have to go through all of the stuff that she went through. Like, Clark was a baby and he doesn't have any memories, and so that is its own self traumatic, but she does. And, like, it's more, I think, a true and honorable, like, an honorable retelling of the story. Not honorable, I guess, in the sense that the other ones aren't, but, like, it
Right.
it holds a lot of emotional weight that I certainly am excited to see.
No, totally. And I think, you know, to cast Millie Alcock in this role is such a master stroke because
Yeah.
she is just, you know, young in her career, but like so mature in the way which she acts in her roles, whether it's House of the Dragon or in Netflix's Sirens, which is
Mhm.
also a really great series. She has this way that she carries herself that even though she's young, it feels like she's been through stuff, like
Yeah.
she's lived, and that is exactly
You need that
who
for
you
Kara.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
who Kara is,
yeah,
how much she's been through, actually being on Krypton and
yeah,
seeing the destruction of it at an age where that stays with you and that lives with you, which Clark did not get that, you
yeah,
know? And so I think that's such a cool way to show the key
yeah.
differences between these two heroes and how they go about heroing in their respective lives. So I thought it was
As
such a great casting.
as an oldest daughter myself, there's so much about
Okay.
her that I'm like, I see you, I get
Mhm.
you, and I'm excited to, like, see more of that, really get in that Jewy goodness.
In the second trailer, as I was saying, you know, they get a lot more um Lobo love. And so I wanted to
Mhm.
ask you, what do you think of the character of Lobo, and how do you feel about this other master stroke casting of having Jason Momoa, who is living, breathing Lobo his whole life?
It's so
So
good.
you know how I feel about it. How do you feel about Lobo, the comic book character, and how Jason Momoa is portraying him and how it could fit in this overall Supergirl story?
Lobo's such an interesting character to me because Lobo, like, I do not have a personal, uh relationship with. He's a fictional character, Megan. I do not have, like, a
You have a
personal
relationship with him?
relationship with Lobo. I don't have, like, a personal connection to Lobo in sort of the same way that, like,
Right.
he was sort of around, but he was, like, not the character that I was, like, super excited about whenever I was younger, and so I was very like, "Cool, Lobo's here also." But as I've gotten older, part of, like, once again, sort of going back to the joys of fandom,
Right.
I love Lobo because I know so many people who love Lobo, and, like, he matters to so many people, and, like, I think half of the fun of fandom sometimes for me is to, like, I don't have this relationship, but I'm so excited that you have this relationship, and so I want it to be good for you, and I want to engage with this, but specifically only as it relates to, like, how you are engaging with it. And so
I
I
love
I think that's my relationship with the character Lobo is, like, I'm so excited for how my friends are going to lose their minds over it. And like, I think the casting's great. The casting is the thing. Well, once again, I was like, yeah, man, for sure. For sure.
No, 100%. I mean, he looks like just the best representation from comic book page to movie screen that you could have, especially for this kind of character, which is larger than life, really kind of like the Deadpool of DC in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so to have Jason Momoa, who was already like, you know, rides motorcycles, is loud and smokes cigars, it's like, okay, that is Lobo.
Yeah,
so
right.
When are we doing this thing? And
it's very Marvel casting, you know what I mean? Like
100%.
when like Marvel would cast people and you'd be like, so we're not even casting. We're just like stereotyping these people. Like this is just who they are.
Yes. 100%. Yeah, like RDJ with Tony.
Yeah.
It's like, you are Tony Stark.
Like, okay.
You've been Tony Stark, so get in there and do your Tony Stark thing.
Be you, my man. Like,
it does feel like that. No, 100%. And something else that I also really loved about the Supergirl trailer is that the story does revolve around crypto. To have crypto as that, well, one, to have the reveal at the end of Superman that crypto is Kara's dog,
that
was
fun.
Really cool. And then to make Kara's story about, you know, her ties to Krypton and having Crypto the dog as her only real connection to home, and then having that at risk of going away and losing the one fraction of home that she's had this whole time. That is such a great way into the story. It's very John Wick-esque, as we said, but it's, oh, my Siri just went on randomly. It's really fantastic that I love crypto, but to use it as that like MacGuffin, like the antidote to crypto, like it makes sense to me.
It's so good. And it reminds me, like, the thing that I feel like I'm constantly trying to learn as a writer is like, what is the shortcut to get us to the most information with the least amount of pages, right? Like, because we don't have a lot of pages.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, it's something that I definitely learned from Supernatural. The first, like, the teaser was always like, how can I use the images that like audiences know already to like engage with the fear space or whatever it is that I'm trying to get across. So the example that I will always use is like, we didn't do this as a teaser, but like, what if you have a woman in the woods running in like a white night dress and it like at nighttime running in a white night dress, and you like cool. Immediately everyone has an idea and an understanding of like, if we're using this trope, we understand what this trope means and we understand what we're trying to do. And then utilizing what the audience's perspective is on that, we then turn the trope and it turns out she's a vampire or she's a werewolf. But like, we're using the image early on to evoke this thing from this particular trope. And I think the same thing is true for this, is that like, how do you fully encompass the metaphor of like losing your family and losing the home that you grew up on and like everything is gone with as little page space as possible, because you do not have a lot of time. You always need more time. And so like, it's such a brilliant move to be like, the fastest way in is pets. The fastest way, like everybody knows what that is. Everybody immediately is like, I understand the emotional message that you're trying to get across, and putting it on this dog. I understand the stakes. I understand the like heavy weight of the emotions. I understand what we're aiming for, what our goals are. Like that is like peak level writing. It's so good.
100%. No, I totally agree. And I really think based on this new trailer, which is a lot more in depth and plot specific than the previous trailer, that it really shows that DC can tell really powerful stories and that they are on the right track, in the sense that like, this is a newborn baby, you know what I mean? Like all they've had on the screen is Superman. And so the next representation of the DCU, it needs to hit. And now that we're seeing really the tone that they're going for, the difference of this movie compared to their last movie, and really building out Supergirl as this complex, really important hero to the overall DCU. I'm getting more faith that this is the right way to do it.
100%.
And it's really making me fall more in love with James Gunn and Peter Safran's vision of what the DCU is going to be. And so I think it really just made me more excited to see the movie.
Yeah, 100%. I was already excited, to be clear, but I everything that is coming out of the movie, and like even not having watched the trailer, but like everything that I know about like James Gunn and what he wants to do, like I'm so in, I'm so down, I'm so ready.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Well, let us know what you guys think. Did you guys see the trailer, or are you waiting like Megan to just get in the theater and see this bad boy? And if so, did it do what trailers are supposed to do? Take your excitement and bump it up a bit, or maybe you got to see a little bit more. Drop a comment below and let us know your guys' thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, I wanted to get into this, and this was actually one of our main topics besides our lovely interview with the lovely Megan. But we know that after Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, the MCU is going to change.
Yeah.
And it seems like what they're going to do to change this, in my opinion, is extremely smart. And that's finally being able to use the X-Men to anchor the stories and have it really say something when it comes to the mutant saga. And what better way to do that than start introducing some of these X-Men characters in some of the movies that are coming out. And as it's being rumored, it seems like Sadie Sink is going to be playing Jean Grey. And this has now been kind of exacerbated by the report coming out that Sadie Sink has signed a 5-picture deal with Marvel that includes TV appearances as well. This comes to us from Superhero Hype. They say Sadie Sink is all set to make her MCU debut in Spider-Man Brand New Day, hitting theaters this summer. While her role in the highly anticipated movie remains a closely guarded secret, rumors point to her possibly playing X-Men mutant and telepath Jean Grey. And now a report has surfaced suggesting that the actress has a big future in the MCU. My Time to Shine Hello shared on X that Sadie Sink has signed on to appear in 5 MCU movies. They also said that the Stranger Things alums deal with Marvel includes the option to appear in television shows. Sink's next MCU appearance after Spider-Man Brand New Day is reportedly Avengers Secret Wars. So it seems like we are getting a lot of Sadie Sink and possibly Jean Grey coming up. I wanted to ask you, Megan, what do you think about Sadie Sink, Stranger Things alumni, as they say, playing Jean Grey? And what do you think about using her to kind of shepherd in this new era of the X-Men and the MCU, starting with her appearing in Spider-Man?
I love Sadie Sink. I will watch her in anything. I think she is brilliant. I think she is one of the most talented actors currently, and like of that younger generation. So like I'm thrilled. I'm curious. I am.
Is there a butt coming? I was
no, there's no butt. Like I don't know. It's so early on to say that like I can fully imagine. I think that she will do an amazing job. I am very curious, especially because we have seen like various iterations of Jean Grey previously. I think that's the thing that I'm sort of interested in, is to see how like this will be different from the like X-Men Apocalypse, right? Like how will this, and Sophie Turner, that's who it was who did Jean Grey.
I hope it's different.
Well, but like I mean I enjoyed it. I thought it was fine. I enjoyed her. I was like, I think that she got a lot of like,
yeah, I enjoyed her.
I think she got a lot of negative reviews in a way that I was like, that
I
should
think it
not
was
be the case.
the writing
I think
is
she did.
more
I think
than
she did a
her
very
fault.
like.
Yeah.
I think she did as good a job as like she was going to be able to do with that. And so, I am, but I am curious to see the like. We did this version of Jean and like or like OG X-Men, like we did this version of Jean. So
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
think that it's like Sadie's amazing that like she will do whatever, like she will do such an amazing job with the role of Jean Grey. So I'm
Mhm.
more so just like what version of this are you gonna do? Like what kind of aspect of this? But the fact that like they're going all in on Sadie, like one, I think is very smart, as they absolutely should.
Yeah.
And two, very much implies that she is definitely a big storyline coming up. Do you know what I mean?
100%. No, if they're well, I think it signals a lot of things.
Yeah.
One, you should always lock up talent, because if you don't and it gets really big, Tony
You
Stark's
will?
going to demand $100 million of film, and you're going to be like, we can't pay anyone else now. So
Yeah.
it's very smart. Lock her up in the beginning. We know she can act. She came into Stranger Things, which is not easy because she came in the second season after the show had already blown up. The kids are already established in their relationships, and it's not easy to fall in love with a new character when you already have the originals.
Yeah.
But the way that Sadie Sink came into Stranger Things, it was seamless. You fell in love with the character right away. It felt natural integration with her and the other characters. And that's not an easy thing to do. And I really think it speaks to just how good of an actress Sadie Sink is. And she was young when that happened. And so she's only been getting better. I mean, with the whale, that role is not an easy thing to do. It won Brendan Fraser Oscar, but she was incredible in it and stood toe to toe with an actor who I think is, underrated within
100%.
Brendan Fraser, but also has been doing it for like many, many years. So I think they got someone that really can be a focal point of introducing the X-Men. So I just think it was really smart to use her.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. There's definitely some smart choices being made. So I am like, I am tentatively excited. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like I'm excited for her. I'll watch anything
it's
with
the
her.
Leo meme, it's like from Django Unchained, like, you piqued my curiosity. Now you have my attention, or whatever.
Truly, I was like, I don't know that I'm going to be interested in anything now that I got my Fantastic Four movie. Like, whatever. And then like that comes up, and it's like,
no.
and I think that I'm out. They're pulling me back in.
I love that you mentioned Fantastic Four, because if that is an indicator as well, as we can see, the approach that they use with the new Fantastic Four is very comic book heavy, comic book accurate, and really trying to get to the core of what those characters embodied from the comics. And so it seems like this is the way they're trying to go with X-Men, which is extremely important to the overall tapestry of Marvel in general, comics, movies, TV. This is extremely important to get right and get it right now. And I think using Sadie Sink also signals that they're going younger with the cast, because they want us to be with these X-Men and grow with them for the next 10 plus years. And that is a great sign, because with the others, we didn't get that. We had the older ones, and then Fox had different plans and went the younger 60s route, and then they try to combine the two together and make Days of Future Past, which was absolutely fantastic, but it wasn't like a congruent thing that they planned out. I feel like, this has a plan. You know what I mean?
This definitely has a plan. They're also just like a thing that I think sometimes people miss a lot with X-Men is that it's very YA focused. Like the sort of point and purpose of it is to like is a representation of representation.
It's
right?
very
like,
white focus. You said white.
Well, I guess, but like it's.
I was like, oh, I don't disagree with that.
I don't think that's not really what I was getting at. I don't actually think that like it actually does a lot of really good attempt at representation. YA is what I was saying. Is that
it is, yes.
It's very like
so it's soapy too. It's supposed
to be soapy. Like
yeah.
this is the thing. This is what I miss about like a lot of like when I was reading comics.
Back in the day.
Back in my day. But like I think that there is something that is very easy to forget, is that the joy for some of it is just the soapy goodness, is that like this is good too, and this is a valid piece of things, as well as that like these are teens being teens who also have powers, and that's insane. Like, can you imagine when you were a teenager and like think back to all of the everything with being a teenager, and then you get powers that you don't know how to handle? No,
I know.
absolutely
Yeah.
not. That'd be me.
Yeah. It's like you're going through regular teenage stuff.
Yeah.
You're going through mutant teenage stuff, and you're trying to find your place in a world that doesn't accept mutants. It's like all these things happening at once when you're so young, you don't know how to navigate this world.
And it's why actually I think that like X-Men is not so much that it's why focus is that it's very representation focused, it's very representation forward, and like the
100%.
recognizing the like the struggles within that, and the struggles within the like
I misheard you.
no. I was very confused when you were pressing on it, and I was like, I don't know that I think that but it was so, I think, crucial and important to show the like that struggle. Like it was a massive like queer representation story for a lot of people, of that like when you don't feel like you fit 100%. Into your skin, you and you still like you still have to exist, and people don't like you for it. And that I think is so, if you do not do that aspect of it, you are missing an important piece of the important piece of the inspiration, right? Like working in adaptation, a thing that I always really love and always try and endeavor to do is think about like, what was the inspiration and point and purpose of this thing? What is the passion that comes in, like, if this was a book originally and now we're making this a TV show, if this was a comic and now we're making it an audio, like, what is the inspiration and passion that was put into this project, in this story, and how can we take that into those other spaces? And like, there are certain DNA pieces to these stories that will always have to be part of the story, and if you don't have those pieces be a part of the story, you are missing something. That is the time when people are like, I just don't know if this like really made sense to me, and like it's usually because those DNA pieces aren't there anymore.
What do you think about using the introduction of Jean Grey in a Superman, or I'm sorry, that would be crazy.
That would be amazing.
I would love that. In a Spider-Man movie, though, for her first intro, I found that to be quite interesting, and it needs to be handled in a really good way to make it make sense.
It's certainly a really good business decision. I think that, like,
yeah.
I understand
X-Men and Spider-Man. Yeah.
Well, I also just like, that people are going to go to a Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man is like Spider-Man, I think is Marvel's Batman.
Right.
Right. Like, I think that
100% great.
There's sort of an understanding in terms of like the money that will be spent. People will always buy Batman books. People will always buy Spider-Man books. And, so it, from a business sense, makes sense to me, because if you're trying to like launch a new thing, you've got a new Spider-Man movie, people will always go and see Spider-Man. And this is a younger Spider-Man as well. So if you're doing younger X-Men, you introduce the younger X-Men with the young Spider-Man. So I can sort of like see the business discussions happening. That's fine. I don't mind that. I am curious how, if there's an ability to make it like not just a business decision. Do you know what I mean? Like, that is the writer's job, is to be like, we have these business, like, IP comes in with these particular business things that they need to make happen, and you're like, okay, cool, fine, as long as you make that an empathetic and like emotionally driven story choice, cool, that can work. So I am absolutely happy to like reserve judgment until that comes across, because there could be a really cool way, like, for all of the Batman v Superman movie, a lot has been said about it. The one thing I will say that was really surprising is that both of their moms' names are Martha, and I did not clock that until that moment.
I did not either.
That was the moment.
I'm like, oh wait, like, I forgot.
A person I have been in this fandom of comics for a long time, and I was like,
yes.
And so I give the flowers where the flowers deserve to go, which is like, cool, yeah, you did make that point to me. And like I am, and the rest of the movie I don't think lived up to that particular point to me. Fine. This could do a very similar thing that I'm just like not anticipating, and I am ready to be like, cool, great, awesome. I did not see that coming, and I am the dumb one for not seeing that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Not about you being the dumb one, but yes, I know what you mean.
Listen, I'm very happy to not be I don't have all the answers. I know that.
Something I also really love is when I was a kid, and watching X-Men animated series, or man, there's even there was this failed pilot that was on VHS called the Pride of the X-Men with Kitty Pryde as you're through, and there was just this fascination that when I would see Spider-Man at the X-Mansion, it really made you feel like this was a very lived-in universe, that it was all connected. That was really fascinating to me as a kid to see Spider-Man there. And so it just makes me really happy that they're starting to connect Spider-Man with the X-Men by using Jean Grey in his movie first. And then it gives me hope that we will see Spider-Man at the X-Mansion with the other X-Men, that there is some more potential crossover, because I just found that so fascinating, because that was my first introduction to like, this is all a lived in universe. They're all here. And so that makes me really happy that she's going to be in this. We know she's Jean Grey. They're being very coy, but she's Jean Grey. Come on. Like we know she has to
listen. I think so too. I would also, though, it would be hilarious for them to just be like, anyway, she's Black Cat. Let's go. And you're like, oh, okay.
Or she's like, she's Gwen Stacy. It's like,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
all
okay.
right. I mean, are you gonna use her more? Because like, this is a really good actress. You gotta
you're gonna use her for 5 things. Like, you're gonna use her?
Yeah, and she's like,
I will say, if she were Spidey Gwen,
that would, I mean, people have been typecasting or like fan casting her and the other gentleman from Stranger Things, because they have like a relationship in Stranger Things. But I've seen like the, putting the Miles Morales on him.
I hate it.
And I'm like, dang, that would work well. You guys are good. Like, he's doing flips after and stuff. I'm like, are you vying for Miles Morales right now?
I see.
I'm not opposed. I mean, I do think, though, I mean, I don't know if this is his background, but I think a Afro-Latino should play Miles Morales. I think it's such a core part of that character that you need to find someone out there that is Afro-Latino, that has that connection to the character before he even starts.
100%.
I really think that's important. So I hope when they do Miles Morales, I hope they keep that in mind.
Agreed.
Because there's a lot of great actors of color. Like, you don't need to use the same person for every Black role, or you know what I mean? Like, there's so many out there. Like, come on, guys. Casting directors, get out there, look at the tapes. Megan loves casting. Get her in the room.
I know.
I like them all.
Yeah, like I like them all. I can see them all for it. No, I 1000% agree with you, and I think that like it is so necessary. That is like, it's a huge part of his character. Like, why wouldn't you? It doesn't. Doesn't make sense to me that you wouldn't cast an Afro-Latino man to
you'd be surprised in Hollywood.
I would say it's gotten better. I don't think that I mean, I
know. Yep, I know. We'll have to jump on so we have more time to talk about all the things we want to talk about. But what do you guys think? Do you think that this is the right move to sign great actress Sadie Sink to a 5-picture deal, and that this signals Jean Grey and the X-Men are coming and they are going to be here for the long haul? Drop a comment below and let us know your guys' thoughts.
Yeah.
All right, guys. With that done, we have one more topic. While we have Megan here, we're going to keep her as long as we can. But I'm really excited for this topic because we've been talking about the MCU and the culmination of what's going on. And what's going to happen after Secret Wars. But before we get to Secret Wars, we need to get to Avengers Doomsday. And we're getting there possibly a little bit earlier than that December 18th date.
Yeah.
Maybe. Just maybe. This comes to us from movieweb.com. They say, even in 2026, delivering one blockbuster after another in theaters, probably talking about Project Hail Mary, which is fantastic.
Oh, it's so good.
Almost no movie is garnering the same level of hype as Marvel Studios' Avengers Doomsday, making the MCU's first Avengers movie since 2019's Endgame. And this movie will feature the biggest cast of stars in any superhero movie in history, led by our boy Robert Downey Jr. in his return to the MCU as Dr. Doom. It also serves as the first half of a culmination of the entire multiverse saga, as Marvel will close out Phase 6 with Avengers Secret Wars 1 year after Doomsday's debut. Originally, as some of us know, the movie was lined up to be released in May this coming year, and Marvel changed things around, and Doomsday is now set to be released on December 18th during the holiday season. This will only be the second MCU movie released during December, as 2021's Spider-Man No Way Home, which grossed almost $2 billion. Well, it seems like that December 18th day might not be the date that Doomsday comes out. According to insider John Campea, Marvel Studios may consider moving the release date for Avengers Doomsday up by 1 week, which would change the date from December 18th to December 11th. This comes after a recent development in that month, as Sony Pictures moved the release date of the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson Jumanji sequel from December 11th to December 25th, maybe to give a little bit more breathing room after the superhero and Dune movie come out. Should this date change and become official, it will allow Doomsday to stand on its own as the only major blockbuster to debut in theaters that weekend. Currently, as it has famously been coined Doomsday, Doomsday shares the date of the 18th with Denis Villeneuve's Part 3 of Dune. So, and because of the change of Avengers Doomsday going from May to December 18th, unfortunately, Dune 3 has all the IMAX screens locked up. So if I'm going to say Dr. Doom, if Avengers Doomsday moves back a week, this gives them at least 1 week of IMAX screens and also a whole week of making that money before Dune 3 comes out. I want to ask you, and I also want to put my banner and picture up. Megan, what do you think about the possibility? One, we were going to get Doomsday for the nerds, but maybe taking a week back, getting some IMAX screens and coming out. Do you think it makes a difference? Do you think that Doomsday could have been that Barbieheimer that the theaters were wanting, or do you think that this is probably the right move?
It's interesting. I was just talking about this with somebody recently. I'm very fascinated by the fact that, like, any other time Marvel would not have moved. I think that it is very, I think the story to me that is really fascinating is that Marvel and Disney are thinking of moving at all from Dune, that like they're sort of a fear of Dune, which if this were 5 years ago, we would not have that. Like that to me, I think is the more telling piece of this whole idea and story, like news story that we're not really talking about, is that like, oh, that you're getting Marvel to like take a knee is
like losing chicken. Like they never lose chicken. They're always the bigger,
like they're playing a game of chicken. And Dune is winning that game.
Dune.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that to me is like I said, is a bit more telling in terms of also how much money that's gonna make.
Mhm.
And it I think that, like, honestly, I think that they should have just opened at the same time. I don't think that it's gonna, like, make a world of difference if they change. Because frankly, the other side of it is that I uh, I think people will likely go and see Dune in IMAX anyway. I don't know that, like, the people who are going to see Avengers Doomsday are necessarily interested in the IMAX of it or not. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, I didn't
I
think so. For
I need
Dune, it makes sense,
for Dune,
you know?
into it. I understand why this is
Right.
being put in an IMAX
Right.
screen, and, like, I am here for this, and, like, that makes a lot of sense to me. I don't think that you're gonna lose out on anything by, like, not having them in the like, not having it in IMAX. Like, I think that
Mhm.
I sometimes also think that, like, there is a narrative that we can get very stuck in terms of, who are these movies for? And if you're in LA, you get very stuck in the narrative that these movies are for people who go to see IMAX. And
Right.
that more and more is too expensive. It is too expensive to go and see an IMAX movie. I'm going to
My whole rent.
yeah, I'm gonna choose between which IMAX movie I'm gonna see. And so I'm gonna choose the one that it is fit for, like, that is made for an IMAX screen versus, like,
Right.
from my understanding, and I could be totally wrong on Avengers Doomsday. They might have a lot of things in mind that are better for IMAX. I just don't know. But as a moviegoer, I would have preferential treatment towards Dune anyway, because I only have a certain amount of money that I can spend on an IMAX movie that month in the first place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really struck by, like, all of that sort of coming out, and the news of it, and the fact that they're playing chicken and sort of conceding. And I think that, like, if I were to talk to Marvel, I would say, I don't think you need to worry about it, because I don't think that, like, I think that I have more faith in your audience than you have in your audience. Like,
Yeah.
I think that, like, they are gonna show up if it's a good movie. And it the more important thing right now, I would say, is getting younger audiences to come and see your movie again.
Definitely.
And younger audiences don't have the money to go see IMAX. So, uh, yeah, I think that's where I kind of stand on that. I'm like, this is gonna be for younger audiences maybe, and, like, maybe it isn't. Maybe it is for older folks and older audiences, and that's what they're trying to get with the IMAX. But once again, I just don't. If you only have enough money for one IMAX movie, you're seeing Dune, even if it were at a different day, like, even if it were a week earlier.
Right. Because that's the movie you see in IMAX
It's
is
made
Dune,
for it.
right? Yeah, it's made for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, did Avengers Doomsday even use IMAX cameras?
That's what I mean. Like,
You know?
and maybe they did. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But all of the, like, all of the information that I have been given as a consumer has not led me to believe that this is a movie for IMAX. So I am particularly not worried about the IMAX of it all for this movie.
No, I totally agree. And I think you're right. It does give a good picture of where Marvel is at today. I mean, with Thunderbolts, they didn't even top 400 million, which is extremely low for them, not for other movies, obviously.
No, exactly.
But for for Fantastic Fours, a little bit over 500. Like, these are low numbers for Marvel and for the amount of money that they put into these movies.
Yeah.
So they're trying to be as safe as possible and make sure that they can maximize Doomsday as much as they can. Is 1 week back gonna make that big of a difference? I think that is the biggest question. I think opening weekend can be great for most movies, but for a movie to be successful, they need to have legs, and these legs are meant for walking. No, these legs are going to be walking alongside Dune 3, Jumanji, other big movies that, with Jumanji for sure, hit more quadrants, and more quadrants recently than Marvel has been.
Yeah.
But I do think there is more quadrants for Doomsday than there is for Dune.
But I definitely think it is an interesting sort of conversation to have absolutely at the moment, because I think because these movies end up spending so much money that the reason why they aim for 4 quadrant is because they need everyone to go see these movies.
They have to.
So much money on them. And like, one, spend less money on these movies, but two, what we have, I think we're in a really interesting time. This is not, I didn't intend for this to be a marketing conversation, but it kind of is.
Ooh,
we're in a really interesting time for audience that, like, actually the more broad you go, the less audience you're going to actually interact with. My favorite example of this is K-pop Demon Hunter. K-pop Demon Hunters is so specific and targeted, and no one, and it's so good. We all love it. It's so good. And it didn't have, like, it was not made with the mentality of being broad. It was made for a specific audience, and it was good. And therefore we all engaged with it. And I think the more specific you can be with your audience and with your story, then you will get the, like, widespread investment that you are looking for. But because we are in a time where everybody needs sort of initial immediate investment, which is why, you know, they would even consider the fact that 1 week ahead of time would give them the money that they need. I don't believe that is true. But what everyone is in entertainment really, and this is all swaths, this isn't just features, everybody is looking for that immediate influx of cash. They just all want that one immediate money maker.
I am. No,
listen, I would love that. But in terms of art and longevity of storytelling, you have to have something over the course of time be really impactful and meaningful. 100%. And you can't just be like, all right, we got to get everything in on, like, this 1 week. Like, I think Thunderbolts is a really good example of a movie that, like, will have more cultural impact than people give.
I love that movie. My wife and I love that movie.
It's great. And, like, that will be what kids in 20 years are buying merch of. Do you know what I mean? Like, it will be the thing that ultimately over the course of time stands the test of time. But it is a quote unquote failure because it doesn't make that initial money, because that's all that anyone is really in the mentality of thinking about right now. And I think that if we want to continue to have these things that are so important to us and to continue to cultivate these audiences, you have to be specific, and you have to give allow something to live for a longer period of time.
That's a good point. Yeah, man, that part when she was like, "Daddy, I'm so alone," I was like, "Oh my God, I'm crying." Like, this is so beautiful. And Florence Pugh is another fantastic actress. I absolutely love her.
100%.
I didn't really get to ask you about the movie in general at all. Now that, you know, with those, did you see them? The teaser trailers where it's like Cap is coming back. They showed James Marsden's, you know, Cyclops shooting the beam, and as we know, RDJ is Dr. Doom. Are you excited for this film?
I'm a little overwhelmed by it.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh. I think I'm a little overwhelmed by it. Like, it's so much.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, it is so referential.
Like, they're trying to just throw everything at the ceiling or at the wall and see if it sticks. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of reference points. And I mean, my audience, I'm always constantly thinking about, like, younger audiences, because, like, I sort of write and aim for the younger audience. And I'm very struck by, like, how we're in a time where references are the thing that are put in, like, it's so you have to have references and everything. Is one of the reasons why I actually find the, like, Superman and Supergirl movies, like, I'm really excited about, because, like, there are a lack of references, which means that they are accessible to people. Like, it means that they are accessible to a larger audience. Whereas with, like, Avengers Doomsday, I don't even know if that is accessible to me, a person who loves this stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like,
wow, that's scary.
It is. Like, I think that and look, I'm gonna be there, and I'm so excited to, like, be wrong. But I think that, like, the vast amount of references, it certainly will not get you a younger audience that will come in, because those references are not for them. And it's almost very clearly like a shutdown of like, you're not actually invited to this party because you didn't go to the same high school that I went to like 5 years ago. And so I like it, the amount of references are sort of overwhelming to me, because I'm like, I don't know. I don't know that I'm gonna like, I don't even know that I'm invited to this party anymore.
Yeah, that is a good point. I mean, in my opinion, I'm very excited. I'm very weary.
Yeah.
I'm very anxious because I just want to know.
I think that's just being alive in 2026, Evan. I think
yeah.
that
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that is a good point. But you know, I just, with the Russo brothers and their track record at Marvel, it's just been excellent. When it comes to the writer, was it McFeely, I think is the writer. Him and his writing partner did Endgame, Infinity War, Civil War, and Winter Soldier, which are like arguably the best of the MCU. And so I'm like, okay, like all the pieces are there.
I want the pieces. I want
them. I want those pieces. And we know how they worked in the past, but it is a lot, and it's a fine line that you need to hit just right, or it could not work. It's on the edge of either being the best thing you've ever seen or just didn't work. It was too much. And I feel like that's a scary place to be in for them, which, to bring it back, makes sense why they're trying to play it safe and possibly bring it back a week. It doesn't mean they for sure are, but I can see now why they would do 100%. That.
Yeah. So there's a lot of fear, I think, around this movie, which is a shame. Like, that is never how you want to put something out into the world, really. Like, I think you're always going to have a level of fear, but you never want to like make business decisions out of fear. Yeah.
That makes sense. Well, let us know what you guys think. Do you think it makes sense for Avengers Doomsday to go back a week, get that IMAX, get that week head start over Dune 3 and Jumanji? Or do you think Doomsday might be just as beneficial to have an epic event moment again in the theaters, a la Barbenheimer? Drop a comment below and let us know your guys' thoughts. All right, guys, we did it. What a fantastic show. Meghan, thank you again so much. We are truly grateful you took the time to join us. It means so much to me, so much to people watching, and I know our audience is going to take a lot away from this one. So I know how busy you are as well with the traveling and all the work that you do. So the fact that you took time out of your schedule to be on here, I really appreciate it. And I hope we can do it again at some point.
I would love that, Evan. This has been so nice. It's been so lovely. Thank you so much for having me on. You're the best. You're just so kind. It's been such a lovely, thoughtful conversation. I love it.
Thank you. That means so much. Why don't you tell the good people what you got going on coming up and where they can find you?
That's right. I have Mary Sue coming out. The first arc has completed. You can get the first 5 issues at your comic book store. We are doing a collected edition August 12th. So keep an eye out for that. I am so looking forward to it. I've had such a blast on Mary Sue. I've got some secret projects that are going to be announced eventually, but I still don't have any announcements for you.
Exclusive. No.
They're IP, so other people will be angry with me. But I've got an IP thing that will hopefully be announcing in June, and also I've got a story in Star Trek Celebrations, which is the Pride issue that's coming out, which I'm so excited about. I had such a blast writing it. I love Star Trek. And what else am I doing? Other things that I can't talk about it now.
That's awesome.
You can keep up with me at MegFits89 literally everywhere. I am on Blue Sky and Instagram, Tumblr for all my Tumblr girlies, and MegFits89.
Fantastic. All right, awesome. Stay on after so we can debrief. But everyone who has been here, who has been in the chat, I know we didn't get to all your questions. We had a lot to jam into here. But I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in, commenting, being part of the conversation, being part of the journey. It's been such a fantastic experience to be able to go through your journey, hear about your thought process, your creativeness. It's just been so wonderful. And I've been looking forward to so much. And it has beyond what I thought this was going to be. So I am just so happy to have you on here and be able to talk to you. And every time we do talk, it just opens up my mind, and I know others, to just so much more. And it's so important to continue to have these conversations, especially about representation in the things that we love. It's a conversation that continues, that needs to be continued, that needs to inspire other creatives to carry that with them in whatever stories they want to tell. And so it was just such an honor for you to dig into that and talk with all of us. So I really appreciate it. And I hope we can do it again at some point.
Love that. That'd be great.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Go see a movie. Go pick up Peggy Sue. Go read a comic. And we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye, my friends.
It's the Evan edition. The Evan edition. The Evan edition. The Evan edition. It's the Evan edition. The Evan edition. The Evan edition. The Evan edition. It's the Evan edition.